It's time for Mikey Reshow. He's ripping off Cullinane. He wants to find some fans to talk to, 'cause he's lonely on Saturdays. Mike was told to come up with something, and I guess this is what he did. We should give him some points for trying. Kirk wants to know what the point of this is. Just a warning for all you guys. You'll never get this hour back in your life. This is Mike and the Minifans. Mike is talking with you. This is Mike and the Minifans. Mike is talking with you. This is Mike and the Minifans. This is Mike and the Minifans. Mike is talking with you.
My mic was on seemingly the whole time I've been talking, right? That's very good. That's it. Now I'm trying something new with just a positive reward. Very good, buddy. You would think it'd be easy enough to play a song without any pauses or interruptions on its own, but it's been a struggle for him, so he's getting there. I think this is good. This is a positive step forward for my pal Justin. Boy, we've got a lot to get to talking with the boys tonight. I've got guys that want to talk about a thing from a week ago with Portnoy, and I forgot that even happened, to be perfectly honest. But we'll get to that. We'll get to all the shit that happened this week and some late breaking news that I was just talking with Matt from Providence about. But first, I want to tell you about our sponsor this evening, the People versus Rich Kelleher's sticker campaign. Hey, are you tired of redheaded cunts and their constant need for attention? Are you tired of people begging for you to notice them? Then join the People versus Rich Kelleher's sticker campaign. And I'll tell you the great thing about the People versus Rich Kelleher's sticker campaign is that you don't need to really do anything other than just believe that Rich Kelleher is a needy asshole that tried to sabotage the Kirk Minahan show. And that's all you really need to do. There's no money, no signing up for anything, no entering your personal information, because when you deal with Rich Kelleher, you have to enter your personal information and give him exorbitant amounts of money for tiny little stickers for some reason. So join the People versus Rich Kelleher's sticker campaign. I don't know where you can find them because they didn't give me any information other than that, but they legitimately paid for this ad read. This is not a joke. They are a paying sponsor. The People versus Rich Kelleher's sticker campaign. Get on board, gang. And fuck Rich Kelleher. Am I right, everybody? I think that's a message we can all get behind. Join the People versus Rich Kelleher's sticker campaign if you're tired of him and want him to go away. All right. Bring on the troops, Justin. That is a legitimate sponsor. They paid for not one but two ads this week, and if it goes well, they may be on board for more reads. So we want to keep those sponsors happy and say fuck Rich Kelleher. How do you feel about that, gang? Are we on board?
Fuck Rich.
All right,
fuck Rich. Exactly.
Wow. It seems like Mike and the Minifans is a show that really gets behind their sponsors. You can all say fuck Rich Kelleher. People versus Rich Kelleher's sticker campaign. Steve called me before the show and said, I have a sponsor for you, and this is real. I have not. I'll look and see if I receive their money, but as of now, I'm under the assumption that is a real sponsor that has paid for that ad, and we'll do it again in an hour.
Well, that could just be Steve, though, couldn't it?
It could be Steve fucking with me. I don't know why he would do that. I guess he could. But.
He's really in the fuck Rich Kelleher camp right now with this whole, ad.
Would he give me money? One of his other enemies? Would he fund this operation?
Pay you to scorn Rich? Probably.
Yeah, he would.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. We got a lot to get to, but I was talking to Matt from Providence, my essentially my co-host, a weekly guest now. We've discussed. We'll see how long that lasts. But I was talking to Matt before the show. Is there a real cult going to Madawaska? What the fuck? Are you pulling the wool over my eyes here?
So the town that borders Madawaska just to the north.
I tweeted that article out,
again.
But I was under the assumption that it was just a coincidence. That I didn't even think it was Madawaska.
No, yeah. So in St. Agat, the town that directly borders Madawaska to the north, it's like a population of 700 or so. And this guy, I think his name is Blankenship, he has like a social media following of about 800 people or so. And he moved up there and has had maybe 15 to 20 people move up there with him. And he took over like this old 16-room building. And he's like encouraging his followers to join him there to take over local government and like spread love. And
this all sounds oddly familiar. I feel like we've had this conversation before.
I saw a video of him, and this guy is right out of the Charlie Manson handbook.
Can we find that,
is
Justin?
Unbelievable. Steve sent me a video of him. He was like crying for 13 minutes about how he had to like give up his social media accounts because people were giving him such a hard time about it, and the town was targeting him because they don't want to bring a cult to town, and he claims to not be a cult.
Matt, can you send that video to Justin? I'd like to hear this guy.
Yeah, I can try to find it.
All right, if you can, no. If not, no big deal.
Yeah.
So we've got a few other than Matt from Providence. We've also got QBM not showing his. Other the guy who called me a pussy wouldn't show his face, but I was chatting with him before the show. He seems like a nice guy. QBM on.
Yeah.
Blind Mike's Eyes is
Mike.
here. Yo.
Hey, when you asked me to come on the show, I said, "Hey,
I know
I'm not
you did,
using
man.
video,
I'm
and that
fucking
would be hypocritical of me. But if you want me to come on and be a hypocrite, I will.
I know you
happily do.
Blind Mike's Eyes is with us, and the guy that runs KMS Reddit. Well, I'm interested to talk to him about because he seems like a guy who really likes the show, but I'm under the impression that Reddit not big fans of the show. That's what I hear, anyways.
Yeah, I'm a man on an island, Mike. I'm a man out on an island who's a fan of Blind Mike out on Reddit, and no one likes you. I don't think anybody likes anybody on Reddit.
I was going to say, did they just hate me, or do they hate the show in general?
Well, they dislike the show for sure at times. They find they think that they can be critical of the show, but not be critical of Dave Portnoy, for instance. It's a lot of stoolies on there that hate when you are critical of Papa Portnoy.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So what are their beefs with the show? Is it not just that we go after Portnoy?
Well, the typical things. You guys don't disagree enough.
Yeah.
Mike doesn't disagree with Kirk enough. There's a lot of Blind Mike hate.
Yeah.
Reddit,
well, I understand. Believe me, I say into the mirror every morning. I understand. But so here's the thing with the disagreeing is that when I listen, 90% of the podcasts, maybe 100% of the podcasts I listen to are comedians and guys that are friendly with each other and shit like that. And I never think, man, I wish these guys got into a huge argument more.
Right.
That's kind of not that any of the three of us are friends. We don't go out to dinner together or anything. But that's kind of what the show is we try to find other people to disagree. You know, I mean, there are issues that come up that we want to fight other people on, and there are issues that we don't agree with each other. Maybe it doesn't happen all the time because a lot of the news stories we cover are we're kind of like-minded on a lot of those. But I don't understand the need to have us disagree with each other all the time because that's not really what the show is. It's not Kirk and Jerry.
Right. Well, and I think what Kirk has built his career on is the disagreement with people that have been coming on, but I don't understand what you and Steve are going to have to do to disagree with him. I enjoy when you and Steve are going at it. I think that's more interesting, actually.
Me and Steve have the oddest relationship. We're the opposite of everyone else in radio, where off the air we're perfectly fine. We like each other, and then on the air I think we fucking hate each other. Like I can't stand the guy, and I think he feels likewise. I don't know why.
Right.
But it's very strange. Does anyone on Reddit like anyone? Like, it seems to me, so I used to go on Reddit for self-promotion until I found out that was a no-no. Like, when I was doing my podcast on my own, whatever subject I would talk, if I would talk about Trump, I would post it on some fucking, Republican Reddit or politics Reddit or whatever the fuck.
Right.
If I would talk about an issue of Barstool, I would post it on Barstool Reddit. And pretty much across the board, I would get, you fucking asshole, get the fuck out of here. I didn't realize what it was. Is everyone in Reddit fucking negative, or is there any positive in there?
Well, there's a small group of guys like myself that like to hang in the Discord and be on the sub as well.
Okay.
And
you're on both. Are you welcome in the Discord?
I am somewhat. I mean, I pop in there. They tell me to go fuck myself. I can hang around. It's low hanging red is what we like to call it on the Discord. So okay. I don't mind doing that. That's fine. But I like it on the Discord.
Discord.
Yeah.
We appreciate Twitter. We like the YouTube, but we just say fuck the Reddit. I mean,
what's the beef with the Reddit? That they're negative, or?
I mean, what is it? What even is the Reddit? Who goes on there? They've
Yeah,
got
it does.
7
It sounds like a
posters
lot
out.
of anti.
I mean,
It sounds like a lot of people
it's
that aren't
nothing.
fans of the show bitching about the show.
Well, no, there are fans of the show. What it is, a majority of them are. I consider them to be fans of the show. A majority of them are critical, consider themselves, and they take themselves very seriously. And it's kind of like an anti Discord thing where they go above and beyond to pick on the show and find criticism in the show because they want to kind of separate themselves from the Discord is what I've gotten. So there's a population of that. And then there's another population that are hardcore stoolies who are just kind of keeping an eye on the show. I think they like KMS, but at the same time, they're just kind of always looking out and making sure you're not critical of Portnoy either.
It would be kind of like the opposite of me, where I like Barstool, but I'm a Minahan guy first.
Right. Exactly.
Red,
Mike,
I've never been in the Reddit before. Would you say it's show centric? Is everything about the show?
I try to do that. All of my posts are a way to kind of just stay within the show and then post articles and videos that have to do with the show, pose questions, and just try and encourage others to do the same. You know what I mean? So just trying to get discussion going there. But it's tough, man. Most of the time you post something and it's like, Mike sucks. Or,
and if if you're in the Discord too, then you must know the Discord is almost never the Kirk Minahan show, except for when Kirk pops in there and right around showtime.
Oh, that's not true.
I don't know. It gets into some pretty.
It goes into some places, man. It's a different spot. Yeah.
Hey, I gotta agree with Matt on that one because anytime I dip my toe into the Discord, it's just not anything I expect, and you gotta follow certain rules. So I just kind of stay it out, and I go on Twitter, but Discord
it's downright gross sometimes in there. Just some
you're a big Discord guy. It sounds like you wanted to go ahead.
Not that I don't enjoy that.
There's nothing gross about talking about fish or talking about dicks or talking about dick and fish, and it's just
Sounds like I might have get in this thing. Sounds like I might like it more than I thought. I'm looking at a man who's remarkably overwhelmed. Justin, did you find it or no? Not a big deal if you can't.
Video? Yeah. It's 13 minutes long. I don't know.
Is there any point in particular you think we should play, Matt?
I mean,
anything will encapsulate this guy.
Even just the beginning, it's him.
All right.
Just the first couple seconds,
Let's
him just bawling his eyes out to his followers.
Who is eating?
Oh, hey, do you mind if I eat some seaweed snacks?
I'd rather you didn't, but if you cannot make any noise, that'd be ideal.
Oh my god.
Make
It's keto.
the last video.
Is this the guy?
Yeah.
This is not easy for me to do.
Oh, so he's insane.
It's not easy for me to do this at all.
The news article literally said he repeats himself often. So
This is how the video starts? You didn't fast forward at all?
No.
I owe it to the people here to not complicate things no more than they already are.
The town is revolting against him. That's why he's.
Everything, all the awesome times we had together.
I think he's got a flannel scarf on over a flannel shirt.
He does.
Each and every one of y'all help me.
So he's losing it. He's losing A, the town, and B, his mind.
Exactly. And he actually had a mini stroke, I think, yesterday or something. Or so.
Jesus.
Yeah, his followers are looking for a new leader.
Yeah. We're good. That's fine. I think we got a feel for who he is. Who would have ever thought that we are not the craziest group of 150 people going to northern Maine?
I'm honestly not thinking it's a coincidence.
Jesus Christ.
Well, Mike, the news article literally says that he's looking to get 150 of his followers to St. Agathe to repopulate the area.
The fact that number is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. I think Steve had to have a hand in it. Like, he had to know about this earlier because there's no way we hit that number on the head by coincidence.
That's crazy. Well,
with our own cult.
Speaking of Steve, that's the first thing I really want to dive into here. So Steve had a moment with the Greg Bedard sound earlier in the week, and I'll admit I may have sandbagged him a little bit, but that was a moment that I called a top 5 Steve moment. Until today, when I think this is easily the best Steve moment since the show started. He doesn't know a single fucking actor.
Oh, he
has no idea.
No.
But not only does he not know an actor, he doesn't know plot lines or characters in movies he claims to have seen 50 to 100 times?
Nobody.
Is he now? I'm starting to think a couple fans have said this, and I never believed it. But is he fucking with us now? I mean, come on.
No, nobody is more confidently stupid, no more confidently ignorant. I mean, he's book smart. Don't get me wrong, but Steve is the most confident, stupid person I've ever seen or heard.
Yeah,
I think so. He's a smart guy. So
book smart.
Someone like Kirk has no problem questioning him because Kirk is smarter.
Right.
But me, like I said,
call him out.
I call him out when Kirk's in the room. But like when me and Steve were talking before the show, there's a vibe. The vibe is kind of, I don't know if what he's saying is bullshit. Like I said this morning when he's talking about how every article I see is these fake arrests, where I'm like, well, he's more well-read than me. Maybe he's seeing something I'm just not.
Yeah, and if you guys heard him alone, he can just talk his way out of it. If Kirk's got your back, then Kirk can kind of, outsmart him there and call him on his shit. But I heard that whole conversation about the actors, and I was like, this can't be real. And then I was talking to Steve in the DMs earlier today, and the movie Independence Day came up, and I shit you not, he says, Independence Day, great movie. I love Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones.
He's kidding. He's got to be kidding.
He has to be, right?
Yeah, that has to be a joke.
He's a big fan of Armageddon and Independence Day. Yeah, he's got to be kidding.
You wouldn't say the Tommy Lee Jones thing if it wasn't a joke. No one just says, no one volunteers, hey, I'm a big Tommy Lee Jones fan.
Who knows? I could see him being a big right winger.
That's true. Tommy Lee Jones was in Lincoln. Let's not forget that.
Steve's favorite movie.
Yes. But like little things like when he says, Uma Thurman, the blonde woman in Pulp Fiction. No, incorrect.
Right.
There's no way. I don't know if it's that he hasn't seen these movies. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but it's a bizarre way of life. Let me say this, KMS Reddit. If the Reddit was smart, if they had sort of a good bit going, they would hate me and Kirk, but they would say that Steve is right about everything. They would be pro Steve guys.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that would really get people fired up.
That's what's interesting is that Steve really, I mean, his stuff will come up there. People will talk about him because he is so odd, but he typically doesn't lead the discussion. The discussion typically is Kirk v. Portnoy and how Mike sucks is the second guy. That's basically it. That's all that comes up in there and Steve, every once in a while he'll come up in there, but he's a fascinating listen to. And it's fascinating for me to listen to how you guys kind of go back and forth. Like when Steve was going through that issue with the sound yesterday about 98.5, and then it kind of flipped over to what you were screwing up with when it came to the story. He's in the background playing sound. He laughs a little extra harder when people are laughing at you and Kirk's on you.
Oh, for sure.
It's so
But
funny
I got to be
listen
fair.
to.
I kind of do the same thing.
Absolutely.
There's an element of Steve's personality where I think he just kind of comes off as a lot more smug than I do.
Yeah.
But I do the same thing where I laugh a lot harder when Steve's thrown under the bus than me. But I will say that's the funny thing about working with a guy like Kirk is that he so perfectly put my situation. Like today, when he was talking about when I fucked up with the Turtle Boy story, when I just clicked, I vaguely knew what he was talking about, but really didn't, and just lied and said I did. He put it in such perfect terms where he's like, in that one clip, or even that one exhale that I did. You're hearing every issue I've ever had in life. You're hearing anything with my father, with my disability, not having friends when I was young. You're hearing every problem I've ever had comes out in that one exhale.
The exact quote. I had to write it down because I just loved it so much. I don't know. It never fucking ends. Wait, what are we talking about? Was fucking classic. And then Steve's just in the background dying, loving it. So
that was a great quote.
Well, I know why Steve liked that moment because I think that moment encapsulates Steve's issue with me.
Right.
I think he thinks I do that a lot more than I do. I think there are times where he thinks I don't read fucking anything.
Right.
Or at least I'm not as well read as he is, which is true. I'm not as well read as he is. So I think that moment was a great one for Steve, where he's like, "See, this is what I've been talking about with this fucking asshole."
And now, Mike, from yesterday's episode, I caught a weird thing he said. I put it on Twitter, and I got some decent feedback on people who agreed. When you guys were talking about the director of sustainability who got fired, and he said something along the lines of, "Oh yeah, they get you to use the blow dryer instead of the napkins." Who the fuck calls paper towels napkins?
There are weird things. So my girlfriend, if you listen to the show, was born in Albania. So I mean, she only lived there till she was like 12. So her English, you would have no idea she was from another country, like just talking to her. But there are certain little things she says that are like, okay, that's off. Like I can tell you're not originally from here because that's not how you would say that if you grew up here. That's a lot. There are times when I listen to Steve and I think, I get what you're trying to say, but it's just off enough to make me wonder if you're really from here or not.
Even like the ahead of the skis thing, slightly off.
Well, people defended
he was
him
on the right track.
Yeah.
People defended him, and I got to defend Steve here. A few people messaged me this and said today. I think we were talking about, maybe it was yesterday. We were talking about Harvey Weinstein and the female comedian that called out Weinstein at some show he was at. And Steve said this comedian, and everyone said, a bunch of people messaged me and said, I've never heard an American pronounce it like that.
I didn't even catch that. But yeah, no, that is weird.
I will defend Steve and say that is how, I mean, it's typically said by douchebags, but
I mean, that's just him trying to feminize comedian, right?
That is how it's the female form of comedian, which nobody really does because comedian is not a gendered term. It's not waiter versus waitress. It's just everyone's a comedian, male or female. They tried to get that to stick where comedian is a female comic, right. But
so it was like in use at one point.
He is correct. He's definitely right on that, but just no one really uses it anymore.
Nobody actually uses it.
I don't see any reason to use someone's gender to,
Matt, I always say that too, but Steve's a big, let's point out that they're a woman to kind of degrade them and keep them down a little bit. That's kind of what Steve's about. Kirk and I don't really subscribe to that.
That's what I appreciate about Steve,
What's that?
Degrading women, putting them down.
Sure.
I was thinking that we really need to get one of these women Minifans to sew up a nice KMS flag, like be our own little Betsy Ross.
We need the flag. We've been discussing the need of a flag. We need to,
You mean us selling it, or?
Well, I think you guys should print like a Minifan flag so we can fly it into Madawaska.
We could do that.
Show our colors.
We need a woman to sew it.
Now, why do you say that, QBM? Because you're a Steve Robinson guy? I don't find that. First of all, I don't find that sort of humor to be funny here. We don't tolerate that here.
Well, AJ can sew, I would assume, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get AJ on the case.
We might have burned that bridge.
She can redeem herself. And Matt, that's why you're the regular here, because that's the perfect segue in what I wanted to talk about next. You heard me refer to him with our sponsor. The People vs. Rich Kelleher sticker campaign. But Rich Kelleher, I'm willing to say his name on this program because he came up this week, and then we won't do it again in the future. But I am willing to say his name because we talked about it. I guess Rich Kelleher wanted a commission for Mount Mojo, who sponsored us this week, and I think will be with us either next week or sometime in the future again. I don't know, guys. You heard it. Fair or unfair that Rich Kelleher wants a commission from your perspective?
Unfair.
I mean, did he just throw out a simple, I'm contacting you on behalf of this show that you maybe could possibly advertise with? And
as far as I know, yes. I'll set up. Here's what I know to be the case, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Rich will say I'm wrong. Maybe even Steve will say I'm wrong. I don't know. But from my understanding, Rich Kelleher contacted these people in like October or something and said, hey, you know what? I don't know what he said. Maybe he said he works with us. I have no idea. That was kind of the issue we had with him, is that he had an email that said Rich Kelleher KMS or whatever the fuck it was. He was kind of posing as a member of the show. So maybe he did tell them he was a salesperson.
Yeah.
I highly doubt that Steve gave him any download numbers or any other figures that would be helpful to him. So I don't think there's anything he could pitch them on other than saying, I listen to this show. They've got a largely male demographic. I think it'd be good for them here's Steve Robinson's email. That's what I know to be true. Rich can dispute that. I don't know. But as far as I know, it was just him reaching out, whether he claimed to be a salesperson or not. But it was as a fan that he was reaching out and said, you should sponsor with these guys.
I'm on the fence. I mean, it could really go either way, I guess.
Yeah. Blind Mike's Eyes, what are your thoughts? You pro Rich Kelleher?
I don't believe Rich Kelleher, anything he says. And the best he could do is probably offer up a bunch of stickers to any potential advertiser, and that's about it. Yeah. So he just needs to go away. And I think after this discussion, I think he's just done.
Well, my problem with Rich, and I got, not only did I defend him, I got a lot of shit for defending him. Because in my personal dealings with him, he's been a nice guy. And my take on Rich was always that he's a nice guy that's trying too hard to be part of the world, trying too hard to make controversies and little fights and shit like that. But deep down, I think he's a nice kid. I kind of switched on him a little bit when I started getting screenshots and DMs saying, hey, Rich Kelleher asked me for X amount of money and never sent my stickers, or Rich Kelleher asked me for $45 for stickers, or any of that type of shit. If you're taking people's money, and I'll get to how I'm a hypocrite with Mike to Miami in a few minutes, but I don't like if you're asking people for money and not fully delivering on what you promised them. That I kind of have a problem with, or even asking people for money where they kind of feel like, okay, I want to support the show. Here's my biggest problem with Rich is that I feel like people kind of thought they were supporting the show by buying KMS stickers, and that's not really the case. Rich said he wasn't making any money off of it, and we certainly weren't. So I don't know how it was benefiting the show in any way, really. I don't get any of it.
Yeah, I do know that he was, I think he was using the sale of some stickers to subsidize giving other stickers for free. Because I know, like, he just DM'd me one day and was like, hey, like, you know, what's your address? I'll send you some stickers. And he sent me like 4 stickers, you know, for nothing. So I would have to assume that, you know, he was using money from other people.
I guess. QBM, you seem like a contrarian. What are your thoughts on Rich Kelleher? Is QBM okay.
No, I was just agreeing with Matt there that I think some of the funds were going to subsidize free stickers for other folks.
Right. So what would
I had a similar experience where, you know, he reached out to me, said, hey, I want to send you stickers, and he said no.
But did anybody get in on the early round of stickers? I got in on the early round of stickers where there wasn't any money involved with Rich.
Yeah, and I got the small ones. I don't know.
Yeah. So I got the small ones. He reached out to me. He sent them to me. I was actually, you know, everything was good. Like so I got the stickers, and actually, I'll give Rich credit. I use it as an opportunity to meet TJ Hubbard. You know, for instance.
Well, that's a big that is a big opportunity. I didn't realize. You know what?
That's big.
I didn't realize he was bringing people together like that.
Right. Yeah. So like, you know, for it is what it is. Like, I probably never would have run into TJ up until that point, and I've always loved being a Kirk and Callahan fan. Like, I've always loved what TJ has done. So I was able to meet up with him in South Portland, and he's a good dude, and so that was able to happen. So I you know, with that said, with everything going on with Rich, you know, he was able to create that opportunity for me. So
yeah, so that, you know what, that kind of speaks to my original opinion of Kelleher, is that he's a nice enough guy who just goes about things in the wrong way. So maybe here's how he should have done it to not end in this fucking you're out of the world, we can't mention your name, all that shit.
Right.
If he had come to us and said, hey, I'm sending these people these stickers, people really seem to want them. I think it could help promote the show if people have, you know, Kirk Minahan show bumper stickers. We probably could have gotten Barstool to sell them. But whatever the case, if he came to us in a normal fashion and said, how do I do this? How do you guys want me to go about doing this? What should I do? Instead of just putting Kirk's face on stickers, putting the show logo on stickers without anyone's permission, and creating an environment where it seems like there could be something shady going on. Maybe there's not. Maybe he didn't maybe he lost money. I have no fucking idea. But he created this storyline that allowed people to say, hey, he's fucking us over, which forces us to say, hey, knock it off. You're using the show logo, you're using Kirk's face, whatever you're doing to seemingly make money. Maybe he's not. But it should have been handled better on his part instead of this act that he thinks he needs to do, where if he's ever questioned, he has to go, Mike and Steve are fucking assholes. DEC's a pussy. Steve from Providence is a bitch.
Right.
That's not going to solve anything.
He does that little bit
Yeah.
extra where there's just that little bit extra. So after that first round of stickers, he started to then ask for money for that second round of stickers. And that was when I reached out to him, or I think I tweeted at him like, Rich, I think Minifans could probably spend their money elsewhere, helping out the show. I don't think you should do this. And that's when he kind of freaked out on me. I mean, I was just trying to give him some help in that, and we just disagreed on that point. And then that's when he started to try to raise money that way and do that. But when it started out, it seemed like he had the best of intentions. Right. But it's just like anything else, Mike. As soon as he started to get comfortable, then he started to call you out and have those selfie videos about you. Like he's just trying to constantly do that little bit extra to get himself involved, and he just steps over the line.
And it's what he did with Cullinane and MHB. Right. And what I would say to Rich is, hey, if you want to have fights, that's fine. But don't come to people like Cullinane and MHB and say, hey, man, let's start this fight. Let's start this fake thing to get people talking. Because that's never going to, in the Kirk Minahan world, that's never going to work. Because Kirk Minahan's about as authentic as it gets as far as broadcasting.
That character that he came in playing on his first appearance on you guys' show, like I'm starting to think
it was entertaining at the time.
But I'm starting to think it's more of a split personality than a character, because he goes into that as soon as someone disagrees with him, he loses it and freaks out.
Now, QBM purposely yawning into the microphone. Are we warning you?
Huh? Well, yeah.
He's probably raising his hand. Are you raising your hand over there? I can't see it.
I'll get to what QBM really wants to talk about in a minute. But is Reddit a pro Kelleher place? I imagine it would be.
Well, it's not, because it falls into like a Rich Kelleher, and MHB doesn't like to hear it, but those characters are something that Reddit just can't stand for. Like they just it all falls into that Discord state of mind where they just look at the Discord and see it as like kind of promoting these characters and coming up, and then they all of a sudden Rich Kelleher just takes it to a whole nother level doing the selfie videos, and it's like it's just too much self promotion, too much clout chasing. For what we do. I even myself, like I even hesitated to come on a show like this because I just didn't want to be perceived that way. But when guys like a TJ Hubbard,
to be fair, I asked you a couple times because I was interested. I was interested in the Reddit aspect. Right,
and I felt good about when other guys start coming on, like a TJ Hubbard and R.A. Minahan and those
all the
guys.
Greats. We know you don't have to. We all know
not clout chasers.
The greats, but the guys who have been around for a while. Then I feel like even though I've been a big fan of Kirk for a long time, it's not about me and coming on there. It's like some of the other guys who are a little bit more established, the Kevin from Bristol guys. Like those guys to me are Minifan legends, whatever that means. You know what I mean? So. Anyway.
What do we think about AJ? Do we lump her in the same boat still as Kelleher, or do you think it's a little different? Matt?
Well, I want to ask you, Mike. How is everything with you and her now after the show and talking to her? Like, have you had contact with her after the show recently to figure out like what's going on with her?
No, I haven't talked to her in a few weeks. I mean, maybe a month.
Are you worried about her?
It's been a while. So I mean, my point with AJ has always been. I sympathize with her a little bit and realize she's was brought in as kind of not necessarily a fan of the show. Like me and Matt talked about this when we had her on, where she wasn't necessarily a listener and was kind of put in the position where it's like, well, you're not a fan who listens every day. Fuck you. And it's like, well, that's not totally fair because she was somewhat honest about that. Maybe she kind of made it seem like she listened more than she did, maybe. But I don't think it was totally fair to judge her on the fact that she may not know every show reference. Like, that's tough.
Well, I don't think she ever came here with that intention.
Right.
I think, Rich said, hey, you fit a role here that's needed, and they have a huge following, and this is an opportunity for you to get your name out there, maybe raise some money for this charity that you're so big into.
Again, I sympathize with her.
No. I actually talked to her just the other day.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And, and I can't speak entirely for her. My understanding is that, Rich introduced her to the show,
right?
Said, hey, you could get on this show and promote your brand. It, like not even having to do with the charity. From what I remember, Kirk mentioned something about a charity. She talked about, this camp that she went to that, made a huge difference in her life.
Yeah.
Kirk said he wanted to donate to it. That got, whatever. People forget things. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
And then, the more recent stuff went down. But hey, you know what? We set up a GoFundMe specifically for her charity. So, and Kirk, he took a look at it. He's happy with it. And
good.
So I would encourage people to actually just go there and show that, hey, we actually do support everybody, and we're an inclusive community.
Definitely, that's the funny thing about Minifans, or honestly any of the podcasts I listen to. Like, I go to Skankfest every year, like the Legion of Skanks Comedy Festival, and that's a group. I equate them to the Minifans, where it's like outsiders would think these people are scum, these people are douchebags that listen to this racist podcast. And in reality, I've gone there 3 years in a row now, and it's the nicest group of fucking people, other than the Minifans on it. Like, that's the Skankfest is the second nicest group of people I've encountered behind the Minifans, who are this kind of, in a way, marginalized group where everyone thinks they're fucking assholes because they make jokes and go at people on Twitter, when in reality, when you meet them, they couldn't be a nicer group of fucking people. And that's why I sympathize with AJ a little bit, but whatever. It seems like the Discord's handling it well, as they always seem to. Which
a whole lot better than Reddit, because those people.
Oh shit!
That's the thing. Hey, did Reddit send Mike to Miami? I don't think so, pal.
Well,
they did.
That happened quick.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there are Minifans in Discord and in the Reddit and in both. That's just the way it is. We are all together in this. I think we're all supportive of this. We like to be a little bit more critical in the Reddit. Okay, I understand, but we are all in this.
How many people are in the Reddit? Any idea?
It's like
so
10 people in the Reddit.
So we've got 11,000. We've got over 1,000. We got 1,100 in there. Typically,
okay, it's not bad.
It's not bad.
Well, how many active users?
I'm sorry. What was that? Sorry.
How many active users?
Okay. Well, all right. Easy, QBM. All right. Okay. Relax.
Hey,
okay.
All right. It's 5. No big deal.
Yeah, relax. I didn't know we were going to be measuring dicks here on the fucking Discord and fucking Reddit. Okay. So, so we have over 1,000 members. Typically, we get about 20 or so that are average, every time I pop in there. It's a lot of people just kind of lurking. There's not a lot. I was telling, the other guy who's involved is Captain Kirk. He's the other mod in there, and he's the guy.
I like him. He's a good egg.
He's a good dude. He brought me in, and I got to say, there's a lot of lurking going on in there, and he and I joke back and forth. We just say, a lot of the guys on the Reddit, they just want to lay there and have you fuck them, is basically how it is. Like, you got to put a lot of stuff out there, and then they're going to respond to it. So,
okay,
you just got to work for it, man. But they just want to lay there, and you got to fuck them. That's it. That's just the way it goes. So, but I appreciate the Discord and what it does. It's quick. It's happening quick. I like Reddit for the style of being able to post stuff. So if it's that movie on Golden Gate Bridge with the suicide movie there that Kirk mentioned, we can post that stuff on there, and we can get some.
That's a good point. I like that, where you can find different things. Yeah,
right.
It sounds like an upstanding, organization, whereas that cesspool of a Discord run by that tyrant Patrick is just corrupting the youth of the Minifans.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah,
I
won't have you say anything like that about Pat.
I don't know who you're talking about, Matt.
Patrick's a great man.
Who? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Who
I said a name, and now I don't even know who it is.
I gotta say, I meant to say this at the beginning of the show, so I apologize, Minifans. But the sponsor this week really distracted me. But I really appreciate, unbelievable. You know what? This proves you guys like me. For all the, I know you don't like to admit it, but you really like me, and I appreciate that. Unbelievable how fast the Minifans put together $2,000 to get me to Miami overnight. And it seems like I'm gonna have a little extra quiche to give to charity. Patrick said. Patrick threw in there. It would have been nice if Patrick said, "Hey." It would have been nice if Patrick said, "Hey, this guy who makes no money can keep it for himself." But he kind of put me in a position where I got to give to charity. So I don't know. I'm thinking maybe the Jimmy Fund or something like that. Or maybe I should find like an eye charity, a macular degeneration charity, or
You
something.
got enough quiche left over from Christmas. I think you're good.
Yeah,
That's true. I did. Yeah, it's true. I did pretty well around Christmas time. So
Like donate it to like some Seeing Eye Dog foundations or something.
I may need one soon. It's very sad.
I just watched a documentary on it. Pretty crazy.
What's that?
The way they train them and send them to families and stuff. Oh, it's unbelievable.
Well, I'm getting to the point now where we're speaking of going to Miami, where I've never traveled alone, and I never would have been worried about it because my eyes were always better. Like every year of my life before this, my eyes have been better, decreasingly.
So this was a big year.
Yeah, right. So now traveling alone, I'm going to have to walk up to someone at the airport and say, hey, I'm blind, and there's pretty much zero chance I'm going to find the correct gate. Can you help me out? Which is something I've never really wanted to do, but I'm going to have to do it, I think, this year. So I really think deep down, that's why people donated to this GoFundMe. Not to be nice, not because they love me on the show, not because they like me, but more because they thought this asshole traveling alone will be pretty funny.
Hey, Mike,
we need a camera following.
One of the biggest donors for your fund was Blind Advocate.
Blind Advocate, I got to get him back on here.
Living up to his name.
He gave you a couple $100.
Was it a couple hundred? I knew it was over 100.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's honestly unbelievable. And I genuinely mean this. Of all anyone, even if you donated $1, it's fucking amazing that you would give a shit enough about a podcast. There's not a lot. I mean, for all the shit that the Kirk Minahan show gets, I don't know of another podcast that would get a GoFundMe going. I mean, maybe Pardon My Take just because they have so many listeners.
Right.
But I don't know if there's another podcast that would get a GoFundMe going for the second asshole on the show.
Well, I don't know
able to go to Miami.
A good segue, Mike. But at least we fucking care about you. Unlike the guys at Barstool give a shit about you. They clearly don't. So
I don't want to move on from this just yet, though. Like,
terrific.
I know.
Go ahead.
I know.
Is there any chance that I know you some money could go to charity and that would be great and all, but is there enough extra money to maybe make the interns have some sort of duel to the death to have one of them go with you to get you traveling on film?
It's funny you say that. I was thinking about asking Justin to go with me. The thing is, I don't know how he would get down there.
What if you guys drove?
I saw we might be able to. If the
road trip,
we might be able to do that as well. I don't know. Well, I'll talk to Justin after the show. I thought about having Justin go down. The thing is, he's in school, so it might be a problem. I don't know, but it would be. Maybe are you getting kicked out of school? No. Oh, okay. There would definitely be a benefit to me having my own producer. We could do, more live shit, Mike the Minifans, whatever we do, because Steve's going to be staying 20 minutes away from me or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So, and just in general, it'd be, Steve's going to be following Kirk. So it would be nice to have my own guy following me so I can do whatever we come up with. But the logistics I don't know about. But we'll figure that out. But yeah, KMS Ready, you bring up the topic that two of my guests here, both Blind Mike's Eyes and QBM, really want to talk about. I know I was boring QBM earlier, but essentially they think I was kind of a pussy with Portnoy last week. For anyone who didn't catch it or doesn't remember, I called Portnoy a pussy with no balls who should fire me. The next day, I went on Barstool Radio, said I didn't want to be fired, and agreed to kiss his feet in order to save my job. And these two gentlemen, probably correctly, called me out on it. But what is the core issue? I'll start with QBM because he seems like he had a real fire under his ass.
Well, so my core issue with it is that you agreed to go to New York and kiss some guy's feet.
Right. But here's the thing, QBM. You listen to the show. Do you think we would come up with something to make it funny? Or no? Do you just assume that's not the case?
That you, like if you were in Portnoy's shoes?
No. The opposite. I'm saying if I'm going to go all the way to New York and represent the Kirk Minahan show, do you think I would be allowed to just do that, or that I would? I
heard, and so did everyone here. Yeah. The fear in your voice when you were faced with the prospect of losing this opportunity. All right.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you because I haven't really. I'll tell you. I don't. Here's the thing: if I was told
go
before
ahead.
the show, Kirk and Steve are coming with me, the show in general. Actually, I don't even know that because I wouldn't want to put the show in that position of having to leave with me. But more so, I was not confident that on this issue where I told my boss to fire me, I literally dared him to. I wasn't confident that Kirk would leave. So I was in a position, and you're probably right. I was certainly nervous. I personally don't want to put fear as the word, but that's probably my own ego talking. But there was probably fear in my voice, and I'll tell you where that comes from. Is I'm thinking I'm on the best podcast in the country, in my opinion. Dave Portnoy would have fired me in that moment.
Did you and Kirk not have like a little team huddle before the phone call?
We did not. Well, it's funny you say that, Matt. They tried to they put us on the line to let us talk, and that's when we heard Dave and Tommy say, "I'm probably just going to cancel the podcast."
Right.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, QBM. Let me get your opinion on this. I was 100% sure that if I said, "Hey, Dave, fuck you," I'm not going to kiss your feet, then he was going to fire me.
Yeah.
Do you think I should have still said, "Okay, fire me"?
I don't think you should have said, "Okay, fire me," but I do think that at that point when he says, "All right, Mike, I'm not going to fire you if you come to New York and kiss my feet." That's a moment where Dave did a little bit of introspection and thought to himself, I can't fire Mike.
Right.
I can't fire him. Because if he was going to fire you, he would have fired you already.
You're right.
He wouldn't have brought you on. He wouldn't have gone through the whole song and dance. He just would have fired you, and that would have been it.
Well,
but he brought you on. He wanted
Well,
to.
no, I don't know if that's true because he would have wanted the content. He
Yeah.
would have wanted the 10 or 20 minutes of content.
But at that moment, right, he says, I'm not going to fire you if you come kiss my feet. Well, at that point, your employment is not dependent on whether or not you called him a pussy.
Mm-hmm.
Your employment is entirely dependent on whether or not you go kiss his feet.
Right.
And the folks who own Barstool, not named Dave Portnoy, would never let them do that.
Right. Now you're probably right, but that's not going through my mind in that moment. What's going through my mind in that moment is I don't want to fuck over the show. I don't want, but also it seemed like, honestly, that was not Dave's best punishment. Like that seemed like a mild enough.
Oh, no, he made it up on the spot.
Yeah, he did.
That sounded like a mild enough suggestion where I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I can dress up as Stella and go do it or whatever the fuck whatever I decide to do and make it into a funny thing. It didn't seem that bad to me, but also what's running through my mind is, fuck, I'm about to get fired. Fuck, I'm about to be back on the fucking WEI street team, handing out koozies. You know what I mean?
You got people who are willing to give you $2,000 in a day just to be a big middle finger to Dave. I mean,
but I'm
people would follow you.
Maybe, but also I think if I'm not on the Kirk Minahan show every day, ask Jerry Callahan how that's going. You know what I mean? Like I don't know that the well is just bottomless for that type of shit. Like I like being on the Kirk Minahan show, and I think I'm still growing as a broadcast. So I don't even think I'm ready to do my own thing if I got fired.
You're definitely not.
See, I like this guy, but that's the thing is, I like doing the show, but B, I don't want to be out on my own doing fucking trash talk again and working with whatever shit radio station I am to try to make money. Right. Blind Mike's Eyes, you had the same issue more or less. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think bowing down to Portnoy instantaneously is a bad look for you.
Yeah.
I don't like the prospect of you going just to New York to kiss his feet.
Right.
Obviously, Dave's a content guy. He wasn't going to fire you.
You really believe that, though? I think he was going
to.
Kirk said the same thing. Kirk says he wasn't going to. I think he was.
He was. He's not going to fire you because in it deep down inside, Dave Portnoy is a content guy. So he's going to bring you to New York and grab as much content from you as possible and then ship your ass back up to Boston.
Right.
That's what he was going to do.
Yeah,
I don't like that you agreed right away.
Honestly, here's why I want to have you guys on, because I think you might be right. But in that moment, I was nowhere near thinking that. Like, I was not of the mindset of, this is all some big joke. I went into that phone call very nervous because I thought the only reason they had Kirk on was so that Kirk could try and stop my firing. And I don't know that turned out to be the case. Portnoy said after. He
But
said,
the vibe I got from the show that day was if Kirk got on the phone with you with Portnoy, that he wasn't going to have your back quite as much as he had his back with Steve, because you basically said, "Fuck you, Dave."
That was the big thing. If if Portnoy read my blog and said, "We're going to fire him for writing this," I probably still would have been as big a pussy and said, "I'll kiss your feet." But I would have had more confidence that the show would have gone with me or whatever. But here's the thing: is I made a mistake. I did something I regretted. In that's not me. The guy that said, "Hey, fuck you, pussy, grow some balls and fire me." You guys listen to the show every day. It was entertaining, but you guys listen to the show every day. You know that's not really me.
No,
that's me pissed in the moment.
But Angry Mike is pretty fucking good. Angry Mike is very
I agree. And I think Angry Mike will come out more and more as I grow more confident. But that's just not what I was thinking. And you guys might be right. Maybe you wouldn't have fired me. But I was 100% sure. And I'll tell you why I was so sure. Because we heard him and Tommy talking before the phone call off air. And Portnoy said, "I will cancel the show if Kirk says he's going to leave with him."
Right.
Yeah, but Dave has full control there, so he probably knows you guys are on the line. So he's just doing that to kind of.
I don't know. That seems like kind of.
Or we don't.
I don't
have
think they knew we heard. They did not know we heard that.
Right, Matt.
Like Mike, realistically, if you quit there, well, not quit, but forced him to fire you, and then Kirk leaves with you, how long do you realistically think we're without content for, like in podcast form?
Of course, but again, my thought wasn't, "Hey, we're all going together." My thought was, I'm fired, and I'm watching Kirk, Steve, and whoever MHB do the show together. Do
you think that would have been worth a conversation? 5 minutes beforehand, or you just kind of have to let something like that happen organically to see where it all shakes out?
I think you have to let something like that shake out organically because, from Kirk's perspective, there's a chance I get on the phone and go, "Dave, please don't fire me. I love you so much. I was kidding around. I'm sorry." So there's a chance I piss myself completely and embarrass myself.
And then, and if 5 minutes earlier he told you he's not walking with you, then you kind of have some disdain towards him. Like, he doesn't want to have my back. So
in the clip that's on Twitter that was going around, when you guys were actually talking.
Which was the whole segment, the whole time we were on.
About 10 seconds after that clip ends, Portnoy goes, "Well, of course I'm not going to make him come to New York and kiss my feet. I'm not going to do that." And in that moment, you could just watch him wiping the sweat from his brow, thinking, "I got him. I bluffed. He folded. I won."
Well, can I? Let me say this. Maybe this is because I'm a 1.5 bullet bourbons deep, but I will say that I called my boss a pussy, told him to grow some balls and fire me. I have my job.
You do.
Yeah, but you got to go to New York now and back. And
no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. They're both going to be in. They're both going to be in Miami. Mike, you're both going to be in Miami in a couple weeks, so I don't know if he'll be too busy for you. But
here's the thing. Now that he said he doesn't want me to do it, when I'm in Miami, I've got an interesting offer for him. I think I'm gonna be smooching. I'm gonna be puckering these lips and see if he wants that photograph taken, because now I know he doesn't necessarily want a picture of a blind guy kissing his feet. So we'll see.
And Mike, to add on real quick, I think you need to take this opportunity to pull Dave aside and find out a little bit more why you can't blog. Because there's a difference, I think, between Dave on mic and on camera and Dave off mic and on camera. And I think you can have a better conversation with him off mic and off camera to find out what the issue is.
Can I tell you, I was an intern at Barstool Sports for a year. I have had roughly 0, maybe 1 off-air conversations with Dave Portnoy. So I don't know how open he's going to be to that idea. I like the suggestion, and I will definitely try, because deep down, there's no reason for him to hate me. I think it's a thing that festers. It's both things I've said on Twitter that have annoyed him, and maybe things.
Can I talk?
What's that?
Can I talk?
You raising your hand?
Go ahead.
You sound like blind advocate.
Yeah.
Patrick wants a pizza review for the $2,000.
See, that's going to be tough. I'm not in control of that.
I think you
I'll
and
see what I
Steve
can
can pull
do.
that
I
together.
think we could do a pizza review.
I can try and crash a pizza review.
I think you should do your own. I think you and Steve should do your own pizza.
Now
review.
here,
I think that'd be
oh, you mean a pizza review from us?
Yeah.
Oh,
for that
we can do
$2,000.
it. Oh, sure, I can do that. That's no problem. I
That
thought you
would
meant
be
with
pretty good.
Portnoy.
I bet you could do a pretty good Portnoy impression and do a nice pizza review. I think
I'll
that would
work
be
on
pretty
that.
good.
I'll work
Yeah.
on my Portnoy impression for the next time. Yeah, that we can do.
Like,
I
yeah,
will
we're
say
gonna
though, I will say, Patrick. Here's the problem with dealing with gangsters, is that you think it's all charity. You think you're going to accept their money and there's going to be no strings attached. And then a week later, after you've cashed the check, it's hey, we need you to do the. We need a
Time
little.
to dance. Time to
Hey, a
dance.
friend of ours
Yeah,
reached
yeah,
out
yeah,
to us. You know.
Now, Mike, I had a little idea for something that you might be able to do to get some of Portnoy's respect back.
Please.
First question: can you get a blind walking stick? Is that possible?
I'm sure I could work on it.
And then can we use some of that money for you to go to Miami to get you into that media night with all those press conferences? And
That I very much want to do. The best suggestion that's been given to me to get me in there is for me to say I'm Big Jim Murray from 98.5 The Sports Hub.
And I think if you have a stick with you, no one's even gonna. They're gonna be like,
You know,
oh,
it's funny. Was that? Did Steve not say that on air? I feel like Steve said that to me before the show. But I think Steve said, if you just pretend to be blind, I don't think anyone's. I mean, totally blind. I don't think anyone's going to question you.
No, I don't think so either. So if you have a ticket to get in there, you can probably walk your way right up to the front of every press conference. Just hit people in the shins with the.
When
stick,
is that? Monday? Is that the Monday of Super Bowl?
I think it's the night before. Is it not?
No, not the night before the Super Bowl.
It's not when Marshawn Lynch was doing the "I'm just here so I don't get fined." Wasn't that the night before the Super Bowl type stuff?
I thought media night was the Monday before the Super Bowl. I could be wrong though. But the only reason I know that is because of Tom Brady saving Alex Reamer a couple of years ago.
That's right.
Yeah, but I don't know. QBM and Blind Mike's Eyes. Did I sufficiently answer your questions, or is there anything else you want to challenge me on?
Well, you pretty much just said what I thought you were going to say. So yeah, there you go. But I would like to read some Discord poetry from Typical Dummy, if you would.
Oh, Typical Dummy was on last week, or that's Jackson, right?
No.
Well, he was on last week, but go ahead.
Jesus, here we go.
You doxing?
Okay.
Jesus.
All right.
I thought he said
this
that.
was
Maybe I'm
written
wrong.
on 1/20/2020. Typical Dummy.
Thank you, KMS. Right.
Yeah,
It's called Sheep Shit 101. Blind Mike is a piece of shit application. This year in review is Sheep Shit 101. They talk about, for 3 episodes at least, 1/4 the show.
Oh, we read this last week.
Out, it is
Yeah, we
7
read
hours.
this last week.
Oh, Jesus. Recycled poetry.
Are you really just
plagiarist?
in the middle of
Yeah.
poetry?
Well, we read this last week.
Billy Shakespeare over here.
The author himself read it last week.
Do you do understand that this is written to be performed multiple times?
Oh, I didn't realize. You know what? Let me as an artist, let me let you go. Let me let you vamp here.
Oh man.
Take it away,
Mike. Fuck.
See, I like.
Here's the here, and everyone is sucking dick of the show,
right?
Saying how pleased they are to have so much content of a show they already heard.
Is this about subs?
People like me get muted for not having fun / bringing down the community.
Remember last week when you did
Then
this?
DEC does one everyone likes. Fine, life goes on.
Dragged our feet.
But then the first thing they talk about is how bad the review was. Will anyone who praised and thanked the show acknowledge that the review sucked and that sometimes the show will suck?
Remember how good it was last week when he read it as a real,
It was
real
so
criticism
good.
of me, and we talked about it. And
Blind Mike counts on supporters to blindly say how good shit is.
This is a good selling point for the Discord too. This
If
is
it
good.
wasn't for DEC's review,
KMS Reddit, go there.
we wouldn't have the convo. That's the first defense. Has 2 weeks to get ready and defend / laugh about it. Puts together an answer that would get you thrown out of a boardroom in any way. Walk of life.
Still going.
But please keep bringing him
Jackson
back.
did a very good job.
Pay him on the head. Show his life. /
It's better the second time.
fuckers.
It's great.
All right, thank you, QB. That was honestly terrific. It was really better the second time around. It really crystallized. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I look forward to this being recited at the end of every first segment.
Well, here's the thing. What I get the feeling QBM still doesn't like me, but I genuinely enjoy having him on. I think he could be a regular. I'll ask Matt from Providence as
like
the official regular. Do you like QBM here? I think
I do like QBM.
He's got regular potential.
He'll eventually have to show his face, but for now he's good.
That could be a problem. People will give him shit for that. Is there anyone, Justin, in the first half of the show, there been any interesting questions or comments before we ship these guys out of here? Not really. Boy, the chat is depressing.
Mike, I have a question for you.
Go for it.
I have a question as well. But
the producer who was on, I think, OMF yesterday, right? That's the one who reached out to you?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that because he was a good source. And
well, yeah.
But go ahead.
But he was there for anyone trying to make prank phone calls. Like, you need to have your story fucking locked down.
Oh, my God, yeah.
He asked me what I wanted to talk about, and I was like, like some defensive players that I think they need to go after. And he's like, oh, which ones specifically? Like, you need to have your details ready, or they're getting rid of you right away. Which
must be tough, because I assume maybe 60% of sports talk radio callers don't know their shit to that level. You know what I mean? Like, they're kind of just talking out of their ass. Right. So I would bet they hang up on a bunch of regular people every day thinking they're Minifans.
Yeah, and then he told me, he was like, oh, you're second in line. I had 4 people go before me. And I was like, all right, they're just fucking with me, because he knew my name when I called. He said, hey, Matt, what's up? What do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
So, but it was a bit nostalgic. While I was sitting on hold, Albert from Rhode Island called in and went ballistic anti-Brady. And it just kind of made me remind me of the old days, Kirk and Callahan.
Well, hey, when I call, they just immediately hang up on me. So you'll get there someday, kid. Don't you worry.
I think I'm close.
What's that, Justin?
Here's something from the chat. Steve actually commented.
Steve from Providence?
No, Steve as in producer.
Steve Robinson.
Big dick Steve Robinson.
He commented, clip that, tweeting to Portnoy ASAP. So I'm assuming
tweeting to Portnoy ASAP.
It must be at one point when you said something.
When you said I called him a pussy and I'm
what a nice guy. Yeah, Steve Robinson is the only reason any of this is an issue, by the way.
Yeah.
But whatever. KMS ready. You said you had one last thing before we get out of here?
Before I got out of here, I just wanted to say I loved your idea for the watch party. I think the live watch party, if you guys are able to do something like that, I love it when other shows do that. Yeah. I think if you could do it for the Oscars, election night, or if you could do a satirical version of watching the Super Bowl together while like the Barstool guys are going fucking nuts and doing their thing. I think you guys doing a version of that would be fucking hilarious.
Or honestly, anything. If we want to watch the finale of Bob Hart's Abishola or whatever, you know what I mean? Anything like that, I think it's definitely a good idea.
It's a great idea.
It seems like now that we have video, something we're perfectly capable of.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to say that. I think that's a fucking great idea.
Boys, thank you very much. QBM and Blind Mike's Eyes. Anything before you guys get out of here?
I'm just going to watch what you do with Dave, but I have a quick question for Red. How do the people on Reddit, since you say they defend Barstool a lot, how do they defend Portnoy becoming Davy Mouse?
Well, I think that's the fun part. I will say, if I'm going to make a plug for guys getting in the sub and getting on the Reddit and doing that, I think I have a lot of fun asking those questions and testing their limits on that. So they like to try and point out little things with Kirk here and there. And I do the same thing. So if you want to have some fun, it's good to mix it up and get in the fight. Again, nothing wrong with the Discord. I love the Discord too, but that's much more of a community of fans. If you want to mix it up and get in there with some hardcore stoolies who are not huge fans of the Minifans, it's a good spot to get in there. And you are more than welcome to get in there and mix it up, because you can ask them questions about Papa Portnoy and Davey Deletes, and you mentioned him doing some cocaine, maybe potentially, and they get very upset about that. So it's a lot of fun. So I recommend
if Minifans can fight there, it sounds like a place to lick.
It's a good spot to fight. Come on in. The water's fine. So.
All right, boys. QBM, anything before you go?
Jesus Christ.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming on. I like QBM. I think I get the sense he despises me for some reason. but I liked all these guys here, and we're gonna move on to the second half of the program. Thanks for coming on, boys.
Appreciate it.
And while we get the next group of guys in, let me tell you about our sponsor tonight, the People versus Rich Kelleher's sticker campaign. That's the People versus Rich Kelleher's sticker campaign. Hey, if you're tired of Rich Kelleher bitching and moaning about not being on the show, calling people out, going at MHB or DEC or me or Steve or whoever, if you're sick of it and you're sick of him charging people money or manipulating people like AJ, then join the campaign, the People versus Rich Kelleher sticker campaign. That is our sponsor this evening. These guys, hey, they're Minifans that support the show, so support them. And the nice thing about the People versus Rich Kelleher sticker campaign is that you don't need to sign up for anything. You don't need to give your information. You don't need to pay any money. You just need to know that Rich Kelleher is an asshole that needs to be stopped. So join the People vs. Rich Kelleher sticker campaign. That is the People vs. Rich Kelleher sticker campaign. Where can you find them? I have no idea because they don't really exist. But it's a feeling you have in your heart deep down that you just know Rich Kelleher's sticker campaign is a bad thing. So join the people in fighting against this. It's a great cause, and they support Mike and the Minifans and the Kirk Minihans show. So the People vs. Rich Kelleher sticker campaign is thriving and growing every day. Who do I have now? I have Tim and Ken, another legendary prank caller. What's going on, brother?
Oh, no.
Tim and Ken's gone.
No.
Oh,
I was really relying on him to carry this last hour.
I've got Matt, who was here a couple weeks ago.
How's it going?
What's going on, buddy? And Rutherford.
How's it going?
What's going on, boys? Well, you're gonna have to carry the show until Tim and Ken gets here.
I am. Oh well, shit. Then
What did you guys think of the first half?
Hour.
What's that?
I said, well, if that's the case, we're for an interesting hour.
All right.
Hey, Mike. I really think that had you pushed it, Dave would have fired your ass. There's no doubt in my mind.
I think so too.
But you're playing chicken with the guy. He's the head. Well, was the head of $100 million company. He's not going to blink. He would have fired you. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
No, all you. Let's hear it.
I was gonna say I came into this as Stoolie before a Minifan, but I kind of expected him, if you kind of push back a bit, to like that. Maybe I'm kind of out of touch with the new Dave, and so to speak, in that sense. But
no, you might be right. What you were a Stoolie before Minahan. What brought you on board?
You know what? Actually, the first time I heard of the podcast, heard of Kirk in general, really was I was listening to KFC Radio this past summer, and like the one where Kirk came on just for a brief sort of interview. I don't know if it was brief, but yeah. Listened to it from there, and then when the podcast actually started with Barstool, I started listening every day and that sort of thing. And it was like getting thrown in a tornado at first. It was hectic because I didn't really know any of the references, like hearing MHB, DEC. Like I didn't really know any of these guys, but sort of stuck with it, and then could appreciate it after a little bit, a bit more.
What is it? How long does it take you to get involved? If you're coming in, don't know any of the references, any of that shit, how long does it take you to have some idea of what's going on? I've always been curious.
You can kind of enjoy, from my perspective anyway, I could sort of enjoy the show off the bat, but it was about, I don't know, like 5 shows a week sort of thing until I started to get the feel of things, understand the characters and that sort of thing. But once you get to know a bit of the characters, you can really appreciate it a bit more.
Where are you from, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm from Canada. I'm a Canadian Minifan.
Oh my goodness. So the vibe is what I understand is that a lot of people who were Stoolies before listen to a bunch of different podcasts to get them through their work week, and then when they start listening to Kirk's show, you kind of abandon all podcasts. Because the show is long enough that it can kind of consume enough time, but B, because what Kirk does is kind of call out other people, particularly people at Barstool, and kind of ruin them for you. Have you had that experience?
Absolutely, yeah. So like Kirk's show in general, like you said, maybe it's the length, but it's a different animal compared to the Barstool podcast. I like the controversy. I like the sort of the conflict, all that shit that Kirk brought to the table. And I will say the sort of turning point where I like almost became a Minifan more so than a Stoolie was the I think it was the first trip to Barstool HQ. The started the Willie Cologne shit. I fucking loved that. I thought it was incredible.
Yeah, that is why I think that's still the benefit, even though Kirk went off on more Steve went off on the Barstool salespeople, and we've had our issues with them, and we've had our issues with being promoted, and we've had our issues with blog posts and all that shit. I think the true benefit of being at Barstool is the trips to HQ, when Kirk starts a beef with whatever Barstool personality and they talk about it, you know, going on Barstool Radio and Deke Zucker tweeting it out and getting people riled up. I think that's the benefit of being at Barstool. Whereas I think if you're on your own, I think Kirk will be very successful even on his own. But you do lose that element of, well, it's not the typical route of promotion. It is promotion in a sense.
For sure. Yeah, and with those trips, another thing I noticed that's good about Kirk's show is like I said, I didn't know any of the references. I also didn't know a lot of the well-known shit that goes on in Boston. So like the connection between Red Sox, EEI, the Globe, all that shit. I had no idea about any of that.
See,
so it kind of brings these localized issues to a national, international level.
I'm glad you say that, because what people like, it's almost the criticism of Kirk, and I've never known why really, but people say like, oh, Kirk talks about too many Boston issues, or just that, you know, out-of-towners won't understand the Boston issues or whatever. What I think it does is nationalizes issues that people would care about if they had any idea about them, but you're just not going to hear if you live in Canada or Ohio or anywhere else. Yeah. And Kirk brings them to you and has a way, as a you know, it proves his talent, but it's a way of getting people interested in an issue that otherwise they wouldn't give a shit about.
Not only that, it just paints a picture. Like if you know a location, if you start knowing about an area, where the show is from, what environment the show is happening in, it paints a picture. It's like, I mean, a work of fiction describes a setting. It's the same thing. Yeah. So I don't think from a national standpoint it's too.
And it just creates these characters like now there's a world of people now that know who Kevin Cullen and Shirley Leung
are. We on yet?
Tim from Canton, what's going on, buddy?
Just working a little bit here.
Basically just stalling till you came on, my friend.
Oh, sorry, brother. Couldn't get the microphone going. Couldn't get the camera going.
You heard this whole debate. What do you think of what do you think of me versus Portnoy? Do you think I would have gotten fired or what?
No.
You don't think I would have either?
Nah, you're a protected class, brother.
Yeah.
And it's not because you're blind. It's because you're fat.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, if Kirk stood up for me, maybe not, but I'm on my own. I said, fire me, you pussy, grow some balls.
He wasn't
that's a fireable offense where I
it's a radio
that Adderall addicted fool wasn't having you on the radio just to fire you, because he would have come back later. I'm just kidding. He's good. He is the definition of ADD, Mike. You were never getting fired. It makes for good radio. We all knew you were going on. But I think that if you didn't agree to lick his toes or whatever that pervert wanted you to do, you might have got suspended, which would have been kind of cool.
That would have been interesting. Imagine I got suspended.
Yeah. That'd be great.
That would have been weird.
That would have been the ultimate like content little thing. You doing periscopes from home and all that. That would have been great.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you guys are right, but I look at this as a teachable moment. Maybe next time I say, "Hey, fuck you," and maybe I actually get fired. I guess we'll find out. But
fuck that. That guy doesn't listen to anything. It's not teachable because Mike, he'll forget about you next week. I think in the last segment, someone said you should pull him aside. You said it. He ain't having a conversation with you. Nothing to him. So you know what? Keep doing it. At least you get on his radar.
Yeah.
Besides, let's just go to the paywall, huh? Forget Barstool. Go to the pay service. We're all there. You guys will make tons of money.
Matt, as it indifferent, I know Tim's a hardcore EI listener. Rutherford
used to be. Well,
I know, but I'm saying that's where you found Minahan. Matt, I'm curious your thoughts
on the subscription service.
Yeah, what do you think? Does it help hurt?
I think you'd do amazing, because not only would you have, I don't know what your download numbers are, but say you have 100,000 downloads now per episode or something, you'd probably turn at least 30,000 into paying subscribers monthly. You could probably charge them $10 a month, and then you're also going to have ads from sales. So I think the numbers would actually work in your favor, honestly. I mean, I don't know what Kirk gets paid, but I think the numbers would work in your favor. And then you're building an asset that you own. It'd be your website, so it'd be all the assets would be your own. Right now,
kind of what McAfee did essentially.
McAfee, like what's his face?
Pat McAfee. Not John McAfee.
Not the fucked up one.
Mike, where'd you find this guy? He's too smart to be a Minifan.
That's true.
Who's that, Matt?
Yeah.
Matt is the great writer and singer of songs like Blind Mike's or Mama Gary's Touch.
That's true.
Oh,
Yeah,
he was
a genius.
You
The man's a
interviewed on the James what's it in the actor studio? What's his name that you did there?
The Life of the
James
Parody.
Rickman?
No, not him.
Oh, yeah.
That was the Steve Murdered Me guys. A different duo.
You're a regular Bernard Pivot. You got to get him on there. That was a great show.
What the fuck is that? What's a Bernard P? What would you just say?
If you don't know, you don't know, right?
I guess I don't know.
He's the guy that Inside the Actors Studio is based on. Bernard Pivot.
I see.
But I like what I kind of agree with what Matt said, because the way I virtually have no say in anything that was done with a subscription service. But the way I would see it is 2 or 3 days a week would be free, and you sell advertising for those.
Yeah.
And that's still more than most podcasts are doing.
Yeah.
Most podcasts are once a week, and they sell advertising for that.
This
would be maybe 2-3 days a week, and the other 2 or 3 are behind a paywall. And then the way I see it is you have everything else behind a paywall. You have, Mike and the Minifans, Life of the Parody, the Intern show.
Yeah.
You could even have a fucking political talk show with Steve Robinson, whatever the fuck else, the Minifans show, whatever the fuck else we come up with.
One way you can gauge it is you could see, I don't know if you can track this, but you could figure out how many people are actually buying from sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Kirk Minahan show is the only show that I've ever purchased stuff from sponsors.
Yeah.
Ever. But I would suspect that a lot of people actually do. And if you knew those numbers, it might give you confidence or might give Kirk confidence and Steve confidence that it would be okay to move to a subscription service.
Well, let me throw this at you. Since we're talking about it,
yeah.
Do you think the benefit of Barstool is they pay all of us? They pay me, something. They pay Steve a pretty good wage, and from what I understand, they pay Kirk a pretty good wage. And it is promotion. Like I said, like Rutherford is on here because he found out about the Kirk Minahan show through Barstool.
Yeah.
Do you think there's an element of that's lost? And do you think Kirk not having a boss, do you think that's lost at all going to a subscription service?
That's your best point right there, is Kirk having a boss is good content. Him fighting against someone at the company, or you guys fighting against someone at the company, is great content. That's your best point. But the other one is they don't post your fucking blog post. That makes no sense. If I were you guys, I would also I would post those blog posts on your own assets if they're not going to post it. So Kirk,
I think a lot of people suggested that to me. I assume we can't do that.
Probably not. But at that point, it would be a middle finger from me saying, if you guys aren't going to post, this is benign shit, and you're not going to let me post this on barstool.com, fuck you, we're going to post it.
So, Mike, you think... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I sort of feel like I'm in like maybe a select few group where I'm sort of really, really, really holding on to the hope that the podcast stays with Barstool, that Kirk stays with Barstool and that sort of thing. Because, like I said, I came over from the thing, and I would say I'm more so a Minifan than a Stoolie at this point. But I'm also I'm in college and I don't have a ton of disposable income, so I'm really not. I'm hoping to avoid the whole subscription decision sort of thing. But
so I think in a subscription model, if you're smart, here's where, like, I talk about Opie and Anthony all the time. Here's where Anthony Cumia fucked up. Is he went behind a paywall completely. I think the idea of a subscription model is you give a couple for free. You give one or two or maybe 3 per week for free. And then you put everything else behind the paywall. So that way you can keep growing. People know what you're doing. And then if they really like it, then they can pay for more.
Well, Mike, bigger question is, do you jump now before, if this casino that's rumored to be looking at buying Barstool, do you jump before this casino comes in? Are they going to keep you? Because let's face it, Portnoy talks more about betting, all their shows that have to do with betting, have to do with sports. Those are the ones that carry the brand, as ass chaps used to say. But if they come in and they look at, okay, well, where do we start shaving the fat? Is it you guys? Do you jump now? I don't know, Rutherford. You came over from Barstool. Matt, seems like you're not a Barstool guy. I was when he was in Boston, but because I'm local. But I don't ever go to Barstool. I just go to KMS.
Right. And yeah, and I've been overall very disappointed with Barstool's end of the Kirk show, being with Barstool, because I feel like there's they could have gone to bat early on a couple times and it would have changed the entire relationship to this point.
There's no way you don't publish that trendy post. No way.
That was such a
post
dunk. That was so bizarre to me as someone that's followed Barstool for so long, and just that's everything that they're built on, on it. Well, we're built, whatever. But I find the blog posts and that sort of thing, when it comes to that sort of shit, that's when you're going against the show and sort of just it's not productive for either party. That I don't understand that whatsoever.
The thing is too, it's the good part of Barstool is you do get a salary from them, so they do pay some of your bills. But what you would want from them is that's more important in my mind is for them to have your back on shit. And when you're exposing one of the best things that Kirk does and that you guys do is expose hypocrisy. That's what one of the things that I appreciate the most. Yeah. And if you can't, you're there in Barstool so that they'll have your back and shine national attention on shit like that. There needs to be culturally, there needs to be a counter action to the other side of that, to the free speech hater side to that. And that's really what Barstool needs to do in order to fill that niche.
Yeah, there's a strange thing where the blocking of promotion does promote us to Barstool.
That's true.
Where we'll get in a fight with K Marco or Portnoy or whoever, and that'll promote us to Barstool people. But eventually, there's going to be diminishing returns on that.
Absolutely.
Where all the Barstool people will have heard of us at some point, and then it becomes now you're blocking stories that maybe would have gone mainstream. Maybe if there was a headline that said "Blind Mike defends Louis C.K." or Donald Trump Jr. is on the show, or whatever else they've decided shouldn't go up, maybe there comes a day where not putting those up is actually legitimately hurting us.
Absolutely. And the excuse that I don't want Mike on the front end of the in the front of this culture war, that's stupid.
You know what?
Because it wouldn't just be you talking.
You know what? Here's the thing, Matt. Yeah. I get that.
It wouldn't be just you, though. It would be Kirk and Steve, too.
I wouldn't want me representing the company either. The problem is Portnoy said, I agree with every word that was written in that blog.
Yeah.
Right. That's the problem. That's the problem.
Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Just 3 quick things. One, Matt, you need to go and work for Jerry and be his chief strategist. Jesus Christ. I could use your help. Secondly, Mike, you guys are a nice to have, not a need to have at Barstool. You generate content. I was so happy to hear Kirk say today, "Hey, just let's get crap on the channel and just put it on there. Good, bad, or indifferent. Get content on there." So I got a couple pictures for you, but I love it because now you're going to get all of us hanging out on the KMS, YouTube, Instagram, if he ever figures it out, day and night. We don't need to go to Barstool for anything. Yeah. The third thing, I forget what it was. I'm over.
Well, that's kind of how I see the subscription service being. Is that if there was a subscription service, it would be, the shows you already know. Yeah. Well, also, here's an announcement.
Oh,
kind of.
Where's the music?
That I'll be
breaking moves.
So not only am I on the show talking about things involving the show, I do essentially a weekend wrap up of the show with Mike and the Minifans. Starting sometime next week, I will be doing a daily wrap up show of the Kirk Minahan show. So there's going to be plenty of wrap up shows, but
daily
but the other thing is, I was talking to Steve from Providence about doing something. Tim from Can's got a pitch that we'll get to in a second. But I think it's going to be a thing. And the thing I brought up was Howard. Like when Howard Stern went to Sirius, it never happened. But I think what a lot of people thought is, now there's going to be a shit ton of content. Some of it will work, some of it won't. But there's going to be an interesting thing. I think maybe that's what Kirk wants to do with the YouTube channel.
Yep.
And that's going to start pretty soon. And Tim will start with his pitches in a minute, but
the problem with sorry, I don't.
No, go ahead.
I need to interject, but the problem with doing it just on YouTube though is there's no real good way to categorize. Like you can't really separate different shows well. Yes, you can create different lists of videos there, but it's not as good. So if you wanted to just search for
this guy is hustling for a job.
No, I'm not. I'm a mark. Like I do.
Those are great ideas, Matt. I'm just giving you.
Matt is right. And that's the problem with YouTube.
That's the problem with YouTube.
Right.
Yeah,
he's right.
So Justin, I mentioned to him being the head of production for this YouTube venture, and he seemed. He said yes.
To failure.
He seemed genuinely overwhelmed. He seemed like, oh boy. I've got a problem ahead of me.
And I don't mean to tell you what you guys should, because what you guys are doing is amazing. As you know, I love the show, so I'm not trying to step on any toes. I have marketing in my background.
Mike, you got your guy right here. Here's your guy.
I think Matt is my guy, and I like.
Yeah,
Matt
I mean,
a lot.
you got Matt from Providence as the, I would not call co-host, but the permanent guest.
Yes, permanent guest.
Which is perfect. Matt is excellent, and you got Matt. I don't know where you're from, Matt, but you got Matt here. Where's that?
New Hampshire.
Is anybody from freaking Boston besides me and you, Mike? Jesus Christ, it's like 90% from Maine, 10% from
well, Tim,
outside of Boston.
That's how big the fucking show is. We're from all over. Come on. We're not all from Boston.
But you got Matt's giving you great ideas. He can work with Justin to get this off the ground. The guy's dedicated. I mean, this is how it grows, right? You start, like you said, Stern started out. Remember when Stern had the Howard Stern News Network? They were freaking hilarious. They had yellow jackets.
And that's what that network, the network started out as.
Right.
Oh, there's going to be constant content all the time. And then Howard got very self-conscious and PC and 10 million things. We can get into that's a whole nother show why that failed. But I think that's what Kirk wants to create here, where it's a and here's the interesting thing that I think no one else does is the idea of fans creating content. Like I was talking to Steve from Providence before the show, where he's like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about doing this show with Mincels, like me versus Mincels or whatever." And I said, "Let's fucking do it. Let's get to work on it."
I'll watch it.
And and you know what? If it sucks after 2 weeks, we'll stop doing it, and then we'll come up with something else for Steve to do, or someone else for someone else to do.
I really like the idea of just pumping out like the random content and shit like that, because like
why not? Because if it fails. Like the Intern show, no offense, Justin. The Intern show was an abomination. I mean,
episode one.
The Intern show was the worst thing I've ever watched in my life. No offense, Justin. But the Intern show was one of the worst pieces of content, but I was hooked on it, and it created content for the Kirk Minahan show. And sure, Justin may be genuinely the worst person that's ever talked into a microphone. Again, no offense. But there's an element there that's entertaining to listen to.
Absolutely.
And I think when you do that, so you're kind of in a position, whether it fails or succeeds, it's going to succeed.
That's the thing with, like, take the Intern show, for example. Episode 1, like, when, like, everyone that's tuning into that show wants to see a train wreck, right?
Of course, yeah.
So, like, when that phone started ringing, that was gripping.
I think that's the element that we as Minifans get, and Barstool doesn't understand at all.
Bingo.
Barstool would look at that and say, why are the interns doing a show with shitty connection?
I get that, but I feel like with Barstool, like they've done some like shitty content for the purpose of it being funnily shitty. Like
you mean like The Bachelor?
No, come on. It's been a while, but like the Pardon My Take exit interviews, like those were designed to be a fucking train wreck, but they were like hilarious if you're familiar. But
but here, so Rutherford, what I look at this channel as, and tell me if you agree with this. What I look at it as, we're very bare bones. Like, look at I'm in my fucking dining room with a Ray Charles picture behind me. The sound quality is mediocre. I kind of look at that as the early days of The Rundown and shit like that, where hey, the quality, like the sound quality and the production may not have been spot on, but you like what you're listening to and you're interested in it. And I think that's kind of what things are starting to develop here.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I loved the gritty, just shitty, sort of slap together stuff that the old Barstool used to do. And I sort of I became a stoolie because I'm in my early 20s, so I became a stoolie more after they moved to New York. But looking back at some of the old stuff, I wish I was following it along with that sort of stuff, because the hack.
Those were the best days.
Hey. I got a Barstool Gold for a month or two, and looking back at the old Milton office videos, Mike, you were starring those.
Oh, thank you.
Well, all right. Geez, get out your Romans, Mike. So, Mike, you hit the nail on the head. It's content fan driven, which is the future. Like everybody's done with radio. Nobody, everybody's listening to podcasts, but everybody's got good ideas, but no one's got a platform and putting it out. You guys are ahead of the curve there. And I think that if you guys start putting that out, you're going to find that diamond in the rough. You're going to create a lot of content. I used to say this, I'll pull out my veteran status. When I call in and harass Trenny, who was my number one target, I can't stand that full victim. Oh, I can't stand her. So she would go on that show and she wouldn't have any clue, kind of like you yesterday, Mike. She wouldn't have any clue what they were talking about. That was great.
Right. Yeah.
And I said, you got to be dedicated. You got to listen to the podcast. You got to listen to the live show. You got to read the tweets. It's kind of like the Big Lebowski laying on the floor, listening to the bowling pins getting knocked down. You got to immerse yourself in this. And you know what? I keep saying you got to. People do it because they like it. Now, if Matt's got phenomenal ideas, right? Guys on the last podcast, Reddit, love what he had to say. I'd sit there and listen to the guy. And that's just one of 1,000, 2,000 fans. So you guys are ahead of the curve in that you're driving fan-driven content from people that want to have a voice for a show that they absolutely worship and are going to drink the Kool-Aid and all die in Madawaska for.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing, Tim, that you're not looking at is that, yes, there's going to be shows that people love. We might get a few shows that people are like, oh, this is actually good. This is genuinely good content. But there's also going to be shows where you're like, this is so bad.
Yes.
And it's going to create some of the best radio content of all time because Kirk Minahan's going to make fun of it.
Is that a veiled shot at the Intern show from last
night?
No.
The Intern show. Well, you know what? This is a compliment of the Intern show. I said this week was not bad enough to make fun of.
I agree with that.
Call it a compliment if you want, but
I feel like what was overlooked on the show was the opening of the Intern show where they were talking about, we've got to take advantage of this platform and that sort of shit.
Sure. You know what? There's an element of talking about how much of, hey, we're doing a show. I would say maybe try and limit that to 9 minutes per show. Maybe not a full 10 of, hey, this is a podcast. This is a show. Justin's burying his head in the computer because he doesn't
try to keep it under 20% of the show.
Yeah.
By the way, as I look at Justin, throw any comments or questions you have for the end of the show in the chat right now. Justin, at the end of the show.
I got an issue with Justin.
Oh, what's your issue with Justin?
He made a comment that he's got, quote unquote, a New England accent. I'm not sure what that exactly is, but he's got a New England accent.
He's
not like me and Matt. And he said, everybody.
You know what? I'll tell you, as a guy, Justin is very similar to me in my my early days. And by that, I mean about a month ago. Justin was saying words to say them.
So,
okay. He's like, I have a New England accent.
Yeah, and he said,
he doesn't have an accent at all.
Exactly. And he said that people hate it. And I will tell you, I got a pretty thick accent. I've been around the world. I've been all over the country. People freaking love the Boston accent. It's done me more than
you barely have an accent, and you have significantly more of an accent than Justin. Justin speaks perfect. Of all the flaws Justin has, he has a perfect dialect.
He does, like a mid-Atlantic. But he said that people hate it. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. I don't know if he was high or if he was drunk. But everywhere I've been, people love the Boston accent.
I was born in Massachusetts, and I fucking rebelled against the Boston accent. I made goddamn sure I did not have it.
Well, shame on you, brother. Shame on you.
My whole fucking family.
That's bullshit. Be proud of where you're from, my friend.
Going back to the comment you made about Justin being on drugs, Mike, by the way, for the record, I was with you where I was the opposite of Kirk, where I thought Will.
It seemed like Will was high, right?
Yeah, that's what the impression I got. But.
And maybe because I know Justin a little more, but I could tell Justin was just nervous and almost like, I want to get this over with. I know I'm. Here's the thing.
You said
I know this now, but I was in the same position as if Kirk Minahan called up upon me 10 years ago, or even 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said.
I think you just slurred your word right there, Mike.
Well, Tim, I'm a little drunk. What do you want?
That's the bread. Same with me, my friend. You ready? Hey, skull.
Tim, I'm with you, buddy.
There we go, boys. Hey, Mike. So
yeah. Oh, so let me get to this.
First, I'm sorry.
Tim, pitch your fucking. We talked about Rosetta's restaurant
okay.
a couple weeks ago. Talk about that first, and then we'll get to your other stuff.
Rosetta's restaurant. So I do have to correct you on one thing. You said it's owned by an ex-Marine. There's never an ex-Marine. They're only former Marines. So my buddy Carlo Gaeta. Yeah, I know. I'm picking dingleberries out of your ass there. My buddy Carlo Gaeta owns Rosetta's restaurant. He's a retired Marine. He's a war veteran. He's a great guy that I grew up with. He owns Rosetta's restaurant in Canton, Massachusetts at 521 Washington Street. It is authentic Italiano food. I mean, his mom is named Rosetta. She makes the meatballs in the kitchen every night. It's phenomenal Italian food. You want to have a date like Kurt?
I think me and Alba are gonna head there.
Oh, why? Let me know when you go. You'll get the royal treatment. Please do.
Right? Could we get a very offensive Italian impression? Maybe that would.
Hey, a boopity boppity. I'm Italian. I can do that.
What is it?
Oh, a manja.
So
I come to Rosetta's.
So Rosetta's is on 521 Washington Street, Canton, Mass. It's right in the middle of Canton. You can't miss it. Authentic Italian food. Carlo has specials every night, but just go in there, tell him that Tim from Canton sent you, and he'll give you the royal treatment. And I will say this for my friend Carlo, the retired Marine. He gave service to this country for 20 plus years, and now he's serving his customers. So please go in and see him, visit him, tell him that we sent you, and have a great meal. Go out in the parking lot, throw on a little Roman swipe, whatever it takes. There's plenty of parking. Get the business done. Thanks, Mike.
Sponsor for the show.
And as I always say about the sponsor of the show is you're supporting other, the Minifans are very good about supporting the right people. You're supporting other Minifans when you support sponsors of this show. So make sure you do it. But Tim.
Yes, sir.
Now I want to hear, more important.
My pitch.
Go to Rosetta's, of course. But now I want to hear your pitch for your show on this great YouTube network. Listen, Tim, if you want to be produced by the likes of Intern Justin, you're gonna have to give me a little. You're gonna have to give me a little reason to bring you on.
Little quiche for you.
Now, come on.
What if I get my own intern? So it would be a parody show about a show that may or may not exist that's actually in someone's head, and bringing on an intern to support said fake parody show.
Give it to me.
All right, two pitches. One, right up my alley, prank calls. So what I'd like to do, and I had been thinking about this for a long time, I actually met with the parody account, obviously, if you know him, obviously 61719. He and I caught up.
I think the best thing obviously has ever done is at the live show, Kirk and I discussed that he goes, yeah, I met the parody account, obviously. And it was like a fucking Laurel and Hardy bit where he goes, I'm a parody account, obviously. And Kirk goes, which one are you? And he goes, obviously. And Kirk goes, well, which one?
He's a good man. He's a very good man. So he and I have, and another guy named Nate, we've been DMing about prank calls. I know that right now it's not the time on the show for prank calls. Anyway, what I'd like to do is a segment of prank calls. So obviously I'd have to work out the logistics with you and Steve about, the good prank calls should go to you guys first. But people have said, and I've listened to some calls that you guys don't play that I thought were pretty good. And I'd love to do just a prank call segment where I host it. I bring on people who've made prank calls. My pal obviously would be probably my permanent guest. And we play the prank calls that people have made that reference either KMS or just funny prank calls.
Yeah.
Kind of in the vein of Jerky Boys and Jim, what's his name there? Robin Quiver's old boyfriend.
Jim Florentine.
Thank you, Jim Florentine.
Yeah.
And just to have a segment where we play the prank phone calls that don't end up on the show.
You know what I like about that, Tim, is that not only is it you're talking about prank calls when we don't get to them, but there are times in general where we don't get to prank calls. Like they're not good enough, but we're not talking about. You're constantly doing it, and there's a constant influx of prank calls. I like that a lot, and you're kind of breaking down prank calls and telling people what to do or what not to do. I like that.
Yes, it will always be KMS tinged, but there may be a good prank call that somebody makes that has nothing to do with KMS. For example, I've called a few places just because I'm a lunatic and just screwing around. I mean, I love Crank Yankers, Jerky Boys.
Crank Yankers is back, by the way. Have you watched the new?
No, I did not.
There's a next generation Crank Yankers. Yes.
I like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'd love to do a KMS themed prank call segment, probably weekly, bi-weekly, whatever you guys think. The other one is kind of what you did with the Actors Studio when you interviewed Matt, the singer.
Yep. Yeah.
And this is something I had thought about for a long time. Maybe a segment on get to know a Minifan, and that includes Mint Cells. We're all one. We're all Minifans, and having on just individual. They don't have to be parody accounts. They don't have to show their face, but really dive into who these people are, like Rutherford.
So
How did
a
you
more
find it? Yeah.
life of the parody, what I did, but
Yes,
genuinely talking about it genuinely, where I'm not a character.
Yeah. Talking about what drew you to the show.
Yeah.
What do you like best about all the whatever. Have a set of questions.
I like the idea of the parody call one, because I was thinking about this like with the songs in general. I feel like there's probably some discouragement among those people, not being one of them, that do produce these songs about, taking X amount of time on your day and then sending it in just for it to not be mentioned or not get on the show.
Exactly. An avenue. I got to say, Steve's been great. I've sent some stuff in that's been crap, and I listened to it later. I'm like, you know what? He's right. It shouldn't have been played.
But you know what? The good thing about that is when they're shit, you can make fun of them. Like, there's a lot of room there.
Yeah.
And it's not worth a segment on the KMS.
Exactly.
But it might be worth a supplemental segment on, hey, let's everybody get a listen to it. Maybe there's something that pops up that's a popular favorite that
I like it. That's your that's your best idea for sure. Matt, what do you think? Are you watching?
I think it's a good idea. Yeah. And I was just thinking too that there's probably a lot of parody songs out there that aren't played too that might need an outlet as well. That might be fun to do.
Well, and it's not I didn't mean it as a slight on Steve or anything, but like there's only so much time. Well, hey, I'm
Steve's a piece of shit. We understand.
I'm a reformed Cullinan guy turned Robinson guy. So but no, I think that with the songs and the prank calls and that sort of thing, like there's only so much time, obviously 100%, but there's only so much time that you can allot to that on the show and that sort of thing. So I feel like there's some filtered out that may provide some entertainment.
Hey, Rutherford, you said you're in college, right?
Yep.
Are you in your parents' bedroom?
No, I'm in my own bedroom.
Why do you ask that, Tim?
It just looks like somebody about to get busy. It looks like kind of leopard skinned pillowcases over there. Yeah, zebra.
Are we gonna go through a breakdown of my bedroom now?
I think Rutherford lays pipe. I think he knows how to bring a lady in. Yeah,
Rutherford, don't be a rookie. You got to know that anything in the background gets caught.
I'm only working with so much space here.
I think Tim's idea, like it definitely would incentivize people to still create content, even if it doesn't get on
exactly
the main show.
And it's an avenue for them to have it.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. I like that.
And then we'll see where it goes. Maybe dissect it. Have somebody on that made the call. There's a couple guys who've been DMing me saying, "Hey, where are the prank calls? Where are the prank calls?" And again, I will say, Steve is a great ear for what fits on the show.
Steve has been silencing you. I understand.
No.
Every time Tim from Ken comes on here, he wants me to say, "Steve has been silencing me. Steve has been putting a muzzle on me." I get it, Tim. I understand, but there's only so much I can do.
Steve's been great. He knows. I gotta say, he's a good producer. He knows what fits with. Hey, why are you sticking up for a guy who consistently lashes out at the disabled? Consistently.
Who you're from?
Steve.
Well, how am I sticking up for him?
Oh, you're saying that he spikes my calls. I've only sent him a few. I have a few that I haven't sent him because I don't feel he's worthy.
I'm doing the opposite of sticking up for him. I'm saying this man is a monster who needs to be stopped.
So how do we pitch that? Do you take that forward to Kirk? Does Kirk listen? I know Kirk doesn't say this.
I know Kirk listens to this show. I don't know how deep he gets into it. I don't know if he'll hear this idea. But that's a good enough idea that I will say to him, hey, and Tim from Canton is a guy that gets his ideas through the Kirk Minahan. Don't worry about it. If there's an idea from Tim from Canton, it gets through. If there's an idea from Rutherford, it may not get through, but
and by the way, Mike, even if he says no, I don't care. I'm doing it.
I understand.
It's a matter of your channel or not.
Matt, off the top of your head, any ideas? I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but any idea if we're trying to grow the Kirk Minahan YouTube show or YouTube content rather?
Well, I could think about specific shows, but in general, I just think it's a good idea because any art is a conversation between, the artist and the public, right? And so if you can make it a two-way conversation, you'll have people who are more inspired to contribute, and you make super fans out of that. So I think it's a good idea to expand in that way. I mean, I also think, I realize you probably watch what you like and you retweet with Twitter. But one thing that if I were in charge of the Twitter account, one thing that I would do is engage more with the audience, because you do get a lot of engagement. People tag Kirk Minahan Show or Kirk or you guys a lot, but you don't. It's very rare that you share that. But if you wanted more audience engagement, one way you could do that is by having more of a conversation on Twitter.
You think we should retweet more or respond more? Because
it just depends. It depends.
I do that as well, and there are times where I'm like, oh, replies. I don't need to quote tweet or whatever.
Sure.
So let me know. What do the fans want?
I can understand being protective of the brand. So too much of that. If you're not only retweeting the things that are amazing content or whatever.
That's my logic. I don't want to do too much.
But the other edge of that sword is that you're also not having a conversation with your own fans. So if you do that more, you probably engage them more. The thing is, then you'll get their followers as well. You know what I mean? If you're starting to retweet their stuff, it's not going to just be. That conversation goes out to their network as well. So if you want to grow, if that's important to you, then I would just suggest being more active on the Twitter conversation.
Mike, can I ask you a question?
Please.
So Matt, what have you been into the Discord or KMS Reddit?
No.
You haven't? Yeah, no. I'm not in
there
much either. I'm just curious where you see that.
So I'm very familiar with both. I do marketing for blockchain projects. We use Discord a lot, and so I'm familiar with that. And Reddit, same thing. I'm not a big Reddit fan in general. I think there's a lot of vipers in Reddit. It kind of tends to be a nasty, angry free-for-all.
Which is odd because the KMS Reddit guy was so nice. I enjoyed him.
Yeah, I liked it. He was pretty good. Yeah. Good. But I was wondering from a oh God, I don't want to
marketing standpoint.
Marketing instead of branding,
Twitter,
like Barstool.
Twitter's their biggest brand. Like that is where because Kirk's got 90,000 followers
for our show for sure.
Exactly right. For your show, it's perfect. But I would me personally would do as much on YouTube and as much on Twitter, engagement wise as possible. It seems like that would be the best stuff.
So here, if I can criticize the Barstool sales staff, if Steve is still listening, you can tweet this out if you like.
They suck, by the way.
But here's my problem is that you look at the podcast I listen to or watch on YouTube, Artie Lang's Halfway House, which I just started watching,
good stuff.
Gets 20 to 30,000 viewers a week. Legion of Skanks gets about the same numbers, and Two Bears One Cave gets five with Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer get 500,000 plus every week. 600,000 for a lot. Joe Rogan gets 1 million. So I understand maybe I'm different from a lot of Minifans that I consume some of my podcasts on YouTube, but there's an audience of podcasting out there that consumes on YouTube that we're not taking advantage of.
That's right.
What I said originally was, now that we have video, throw the whole fucking episode on YouTube. Who gives a shit?
Yep.
Apparently, Barstool won't combine the numbers. Like they're talking to, Roman or whoever the fuck and say, hey, here's how many listeners the Kirk Minahan Show gets. They're not willing to combine the numbers we get on YouTube. So they're only saying downloads. Like
that's ludicrous. That's fucking crazy.
So if we get X amount, if people watch, if 10,000 people watch the YouTube feed, they're not going to combine that and try and sell to people and say, hey, this many more people watch on YouTube.
That makes no sense. That is such a narrow view of the world. And the problem is anybody who's consuming it on YouTube they're listening to the fucking ad reads. That's ludicrous.
Of course.
Well, Mike,
people on YouTube are listening to ad reads more than people on audio.
Yes. Because you can't just plus 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Do you think that the reason that they're against the show being on YouTube is that they want you guys to do something and push people to Barstool Gold? Is that?
I don't know about that as much as I don't know if Barstool's audience is on YouTube. Like if you look at some of the stuff they do, I don't know that Barstool's audience is on YouTube. But the reason I'm very pro YouTube is you look at a podcast I listen to called Come Town has audio only episodes that aren't put up by them, that are put up by like a secondary. It would be like if DC put up content and gets minimum 13,000 views per episode.
The other thing is
an audio only file where I'm like, we have video. There's a huge audience of Minifans. Like there's people that want this on YouTube, and it'll grow. Like the thing about YouTube is if we're talking about Megan Fox or Ashley Graham or Lizzo or Art, we have Artie Lang on or whoever, there's an audience on YouTube that if you tag it correctly, will find the show through that type of shit.
That's the thing is I think YouTube's the number 2 search engine in the world behind Google. Right. Yeah. So people are searching shit all the time on fucking YouTube. You would come up. It's just it's a great way to expand your audience. That's short-sighted.
YouTube seems like a lot of potential there. Obviously, like I know I'm one of the few people in college that have cable, just because I have a good deal or whatever. But at the end of the night, I'm always going to YouTube, just to search through shit as I go to sleep.
So, Mike, how does it? Have you? Kirk and Steve talked about how you envision it sounds like YouTube is probably going to be the driver. How you envision that channel to be? Is it going to be set times, set days, segments, or any idea yet how that'll work?
Well, right now it's the Wild West. I asked Justin before he came in here. I was like, hey, how would you feel about being head of production for the YouTube channel? You're essentially going to do if Tim from Cannon or Steve from Providence or whoever wants to do a show, wants to do a show, how do you feel about producing that? And it looks like I was holding a gun to his head. It legitimately looks like I was holding a shotgun saying, you going to do this? No, now he's saying no. But I could tell Justin seemed very nervous. And that's no...
I'll do it.
He goes, I'll do it. Yeah. That's what you want to hear from your...
Yeah, that's very reassuring.
I'll fucking... if you want me to, I guess I'll do it. That's what you always want to hear. But no, it'll be interesting.
That would be a real job, though, would it not? That's just my. I don't know anything about it.
That's the thing. It's a legitimate job that Justin would be doing for essentially no money.
But Mike,
right.
I go back to you guys ahead of the curve in that you're going to deliver fan-driven content. And you've also got fans. I know I've reached out to I reached out to you before. I've reached out to a couple other people and saying, hey, I'd love to help. There's plenty of people like Matt. Matt's got a great background, right? There's plenty of people who have the skills, have the background that would love to donate their time. And this is where I think you are going to set yourselves apart from everybody else, and that it'll be fan-driven and fan-supported, and that the back office, it doesn't have to be an intern, it doesn't have to be Justin. Look at what DEC does.
Well,
DC does all that on his own.
I told
right?
Justin DC would be willing to help, but I also told Justin as the head of production, the thing is, there's no money attached to it. But that's what I was doing for a long time. There was no money, and even now, there's not a lot of money attached to what I'm doing. But
it's the passion.
Exactly.
The passion of being
involved. If you want to do it, if you like what you're doing, content. And if you believe in the Kirk Minahan show, then someday you're going to be making a lot of money.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like just doing this small time shit. Someday you're gonna be making a lot of money. That's what.
But I think it's like Rutherford said. It's not necessarily about the money. It's about having something to listen to, and people just want to listen to something. I got my own composition notebook that I take my notes in, contrary to what Mutt thinks, about things I'd like to do for the show, or things that I captured from the show, things that would be interesting, and multiply that times 1,000 people. And you've got your whole production staff. You've got your, I don't know, your operations, whatever you want to call it. But you have the people to do the work,
right?
So I don't think it's a big leap from thoughts to execution. You've got the people.
Another thing on top of this with all the YouTube shit is like, I think that there's I disagree with Kirk, like that Instagram I think is a huge untapped potential. Call me Dave Colonnade. But I think that I think because like people, maybe it's just my age, but I like to send like little clips. Like I do it from Part of My Take, send clips to group chats. You know what I mean? I think that's a valuable sort of form of advertising.
Well, so what I know Kirk said he would be more willing to do shit with Instagram. I know what I'm gonna start doing is daily recaps on Instagram.
That's gonna be on Instagram.
Yeah, which I think will be good, just in the sense that I'm telling you everything to listen to his show, so we can tag fucking everything. I think that'll be good for Instagram. But yeah, like social media, we're trying. Here's the thing: is that Kirk is an older guy. The misfortune he has is that he's working with two younger guys who are essentially 50, 60 years old. Like me and Steve are essentially older gentlemen. But I do the best I can to work with social media and all that shit. And I think Justin will do a good job if he thinks he can handle it. He looks overwhelmed.
But I like
even he goes nope. He says nope and shakes me off. And even that looks like he's trying to hide his fear. His greatest.
Didn't you buy him lunch the other day and he's saying nope to this?
I bought him lunch. Yeah, I bought him lunch the other day.
Jeez, that burger didn't go very far, huh?
Oh no, he's saying he'll do it. He's saying he's not overwhelmed, but I don't buy it.
No, I don't know if one person could be not overwhelmed with what like the idea.
Well, listen,
there's a lot of potential.
One person has to be. It's going to be on one man's shoulders.
But Mike, Kirk has always said the reason he won't go back to radio is, and the reason that he gets upset when Jerry makes fun of his podcast, he's building something. And this is where you've already started it, right? And this is where it goes forward from there. So it's about him building something. And to quote your man Cullinane Rutherford, things take time. All things in due time. Instagram will come around. It doesn't have to be fully baked. It just has to be there, right? And then it'll get better as we go. So you got YouTube, you got Instagram, you got Twitter, Discord, and Reddit. I don't know.
It just goes to show you, no one else on the planet would have had me on
exactly
as their number two. And Kirk has done it, and I'm in there every day now. So it just shows you A, how much confidence he has in himself, and B, just how much confidence he has in trying things.
Again, I'm not familiar with like the sort of the EEI realm of things going in, but don't take this the wrong way. But why did he do the? Why were you chosen for the job, sort of thing?
Well, Riccio.
I don't know really. So honestly, as much as we can shit on Steve on this program, I have to give Steve some credit because Kirk knew me from when I was the only guy on EEI. I had a podcast on EEI that no one listened to.
Is that Trash Talk?
Yes. And I didn't have a ton of listeners, but I talked about Kirk when they told me not to. So that kind of attracted his attention. And
weren't you also the mole, Mike?
What's that?
Were you a mole? Were you feeding him inside info?
I don't think I gave him a ton.
No,
I don't think I gave him a ton of info. I can't. Maybe I gave him something. I don't think I gave him a ton of information, to be honest.
Because he would say, "I heard from somebody at the station today," and they don't.
Yeah, no, I don't think that was me.
No.
Do you think?
Because honestly, I didn't know a lot. But
do you think that it also had to do with like your previous experience with Barstool in Milton?
Well, in the sense that the reason Kirk ever did Kirk did my podcast while I was an intern, and I asked him why, and he said because I respect Dave Portnoy and what he does, and the people that kind of follow that. I will.
Excuse me.
I don't know what that sound was.
Sorry,
but
booze burp.
He goes, you're a Barstool intern. I respect the people. I respect Portnoy, so I'll do your podcast, basically. So I had him on for an interview, and then I worked for EI and had him on for an interview. And then after that, I was kind of like Kirk Minahan did my show twice. He really had no reason to, and I love what he does as a broadcaster. I'm going to be loyal to this guy forever. So when they were telling me not to talk about Kirk Minahan, I kept doing it. I think he recognized that. And then it became a thing where I was going to maybe run his social media for his show on radio.com. That obviously never happened. And then he texted me the night he left radio.com and said, I might be going to Barstool. Would you have any interest? Right. I said, Kirk, let me think about it. I said, let me ruminate it on this. I don't know. Maybe not.
Mike, not a show pitch. Not a show pitch for me,
Yeah, let's hear.
But don't you think it would be beneficial, kind of like what you already do, but you have your own thing? Wouldn't it be beneficial? Isn't there somebody on the cabinet that's like the Kirk historian or the KMS scrolls, whatever it is, to sit down and get the backstory from Steve? I mean, your backstory was great. I remember when you were out there battling that wacko Riccio, right, up in Somerville, and that's where you first came on the radar. Well, not first came on, but they had you on film. But someone someone needs to archive that.
We can do a
that would be cool.
A Kirkology. A Kirkology.
Well, like Rutherford's wondering, where are these guys from? I did try to start something over the Christmas break. It's too much. There's too much info. But for someone to go on a website and just
but DEC did a good job. But yeah, so
he did. No, DEC does a great job with the wrap up. I'm talking about an archivist. It's boring, but to say, where did Mike come from?
That's
and
a good
very
idea.
Linear, and it's binary.
We'll do that eventually.
Well, and I feel like that would help with people getting into the show, sort of thing, too, right? Because it would sort of provide some sort of, just so it's not such a tornado that you're getting thrown into.
So
I like that idea. Should I save it or should I continue my story?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'll save it. I'll save it if you think it's better. I'll save it
I
for
thought that was the Bourbon Talking. That's a name for a new show for you. The Bourbon Talks.
No, there's really not much more. When I was at EEI, I did my podcast, and I kept kind of talking about Kirk when they told me not to. And then at some point, it became I was the social media guy for the show. I came in. So that's how it started. Is that I came in once. I did okay. I was fine. And then I went down to the Curtatone hearing where Riccio was. Yeah. I got in his face a little bit. I did all right. Great and then show. Steve said, as much shit as I give Steve, Steve's the guy that said, hey, tomorrow we want to have a recap of what happened at City Hall. Let's have Blind Mike back in. After that, I've been in every day.
Yeah. So, Mike, what do they pay for the position that you had? Do they pay well? I'm assuming they don't.
The position I have now?
No, at EEI.
It was minimum wage.
Minimum wage.
Yeah.
Jeez. And people are grinding out, stepping on each other's back just to.
Yeah. Well, here's where radio in general and Entercom when Entercom bought CBS, they had this leeway as like the biggest radio company, but also EEI. When EEI started failing. The benefit that they had was that they were the biggest sports radio station in the fucking country for a little while. Yeah. So what EEI was it was this place that was kind of failing, but was able to get away with paying people fucking nothing because it was a foot in the door, and you could say, "Oh, I'm working for WEI."
Right.
Yeah, and that's kind of where the Entercom became when they bought CBS. Is like, "Oh, I'm working for Entercom. They own 10,000 stations in the country."
Kind of like Barstool nowadays.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But.
Oh, looking at it, they might be stalling to casino.
Before we get out of here, Justin says he has good questions in the chat. What do we got, Justin?
Let's see here. We got people want to know, when will the daily wrap-up show drop?
When will the daily wrap-up show drop?
Awesome.
So there's some technical difficulties right now with Steve's computer. I think next Wednesday, probably, we will start the daily wrap-up show on Instagram and YouTube. And then,
how long will it be?
So I'm thinking, let me get the fan perspective here. I'm thinking only a couple minutes.
Mike, is that? Yeah. I'm not sure if you're familiar. Is that going to be like almost like a KB No Swag, yak sort of thing? I know that I'm
not familiar actually. What is KB?
Okay, so I know that I haven't listened to it in general, but I know that he used to do like an after show for the yak sort of thing. That was like a live show.
How long was it?
I don't really remember. I only sort of witnessed a couple, but it was the same sort of thing as the Intern show. It was more people sort of tuned in to see a train wreck.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm thinking more a couple minutes where I just tell you what we talk about every day on Instagram and YouTube. Maybe it'll develop into. So here's the thing: is that Mike and the Minifans kind of distracted from this. The original premise was that I would do a daily or semi-daily wrap-up show where we talk about the show, and then I kind of start talking about what I want to talk about, whether it's comedy or inside Barstool shit. That kind of got distracted from because I was doing Mike and the Minifans. We'll see how that goes, but right now I'm thinking if we just do a couple minutes of a recap on Instagram story and YouTube.
So, Mike, cool. Are you thinking this would be more on the lines of the Stern wrap-up show with Hein and Baba Booey?
That's more or less how I think of it. Yeah.
So the thing I always loved about that show, which by the way I've been on probably 5 times, calling in as a prank caller.
Okay.
But the thing I always liked about that was they gave. So I think a couple minutes is too short because they would say, "Oh yeah, after we were done, so and so walked by, and JD was in the hall." And they didn't
that's
know how
where.
to-"
So maybe we
Yeah.
get into it. Maybe we get into a version where I do a minute on Instagram, and then
Your
a full version on Instagram, TV, and YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, but I think that your perspective would be great. Like you said, you have the weirdest relationship with Steve. You hate each other on the air, but you love each other afterwards. So you could talk about, when I was discussing this topic, Steve was giving me the dagger eyes or whatever.
Right.
I can't wait for it, but I think a couple minutes, more content, the better, if you ask me.
Justin, anything else?
Yeah. Do you think that Steve is pushing the show more to the right than Kirk would like?
Do I think Steve is pushing the show more to the right than Kirk would like? No, I don't think so. You know what I think is pushing the show more to the right than anything is the lack of opposing guests that will come on, and the people like what the fuck was his name? Robert Silverman, who calls Kirk a white supremacist the other day. That's what's pushing the show. Like, I don't think Kirk is a right-wing guy by any means, and I don't think I am either. I'm a guy that said, I'll vote for Andrew. If Andrew Yang is the presidential candidate, I'm going to vote for Andrew Yang. I'm not a right-wing guy at all. Steve is the only confirmed Republican on the show. But I think kind of the social response to the show from people that don't listen is more pushing the show to the right. Kirk said a million times, the people that are pushing him to vote to Donald Trump are the people that hate Donald Trump.
Right.
Yeah, because if you're a free speech absolutist, then suddenly you're right wing now.
Right.
Which is
that's the thing.
Crazy.
The show sort of gets pushed to the right by people that bring up good points from the right. It's tough to push it to the left if there's no one coming on to bring up good points.
Right.
Well, Mike, you guys, you keep bringing up that the fans are saying, "Oh, you got to fight with each other." I think the bigger issue is, you guys have been saying it forever. Nobody wants to come on and debate you guys. So now it's.
I said this. Ernest Owens deserves more credit.
Yes,
he's the only guy that'll come on the fucking show.
Don't forget he was promoting his own platform, but at least he came on.
Good for him. That's what he should do. Yeah, good for him.
I agree. These people are missing an opportunity, but I think when you guys hear that they want you and Steve and you and Kirk to fight, I think it's less about that and it's more about they want to hear Kirk, like Matt said, he'd love to hear Kirk exposing people, but we don't get it anymore. So now they say, okay, who's around?
No one will come on.
Right. So now they want you to fight. Right. And I think
here's what you're getting with this Twitter thing where it's like only certain people can reply to your tweets and all that shit. That's where you're getting. We're creating a world where only the people you want to hear from can reply to you.
That's scary.
That is so fucked up to me. I don't know. The thing with Talib and that sort of shit. I liked it because there was the people that were not bringing reasonable points to the argument. You know what I mean? From the far side of things. But there was also some people that were bringing up some half decent points, so you could have a conversation with them. Right. I think to remove that is ridiculous.
Right. Justin, anything else?
Do you have any inside information on Steve and Cullinane's relationship?
Any inside info on Steve and Cullinane's I really don't.
It's got to be tough for Cullinane to see how talented Steve is, and have to try to measure up to that.
Yeah. So I try.
I heard the goddamn. As you know, I record stuff.
Of course.
I heard the Callahan show, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" The first show, Callahan is quieter than Turtle Boy. Turtle Boy is louder than and Callahan sounds like he's in a tin can. And Turtle Boy sounds like he's in this. He's got a ball in his mouth. What production is this?
I'll tell you, if I can defend Cullinane a tiny bit,
you could try.
What helps Steve is he's got a guy that understands radio, understands Kirk understands more than Steve what people want to hear. I'm sorry. Kirk understands more than Jerry what people want to hear. Well, Jerry's an old school radio guy, whereas Kirk says, "Hey, let's try some shit out. Let's try an intro for a little while, and then let's fucking dump it." Whereas Jerry's like, I want to have Howie Carr's intro. It's a big thing for Jerry to be radio centric. So that helps Steve a little bit. But I'll give Steve the credit and say that when I heard the joke intro that Steve put together to be like, isn't this silly to put together an intro? Steve's was 10 times better than Cullinan's.
And the show,
I'm a guy that loves Cullinan. People accuse me of liking Cullinan more than Steve, but production-wise, I think Steve might be a little better.
The show always sounds good. If you listen to your show, it always sounds good. That's not the case over there.
Big Cat, I think, mentioned that. It's very true. But I love Cullinan as a character. I love him as a character. I love
As do I. Oh, man, I love Cullinan.
The hijinks and bullshit he gets into. I love him beefing with random people on Twitter. I think that shit is hilarious.
This is gonna be the problem when Matt is in producing the show. Is that I like Matt. He seems like a pretty normal guy. Cullinan is the most bizarre figure I've ever encountered.
You need someone bizarre in that role, though.
Mike, I'm saving it for the show.
Oh, okay, good. So Matt's gonna be all right. Good. Anything else?
But like with Steve, sort of the same thing. Like he's so bizarre, and like he says something so like shocking almost every day that like you need someone bizarre in that role.
Absolutely. No, I think Steve's definitely been very good. As much as I shit on Steve, he's been very good for the show, of course.
He's good.
Justin, go ahead.
Have you ever slid into any celebrities' DMs, and if so, who's the most famous celebrity?
Most famous celebrity whose DMs I've slid into. I don't know. Shane Gillis and I have talked. I got to be honest. The bar is not very. I mean, Portnoy. I guess me and Portnoy have talked via DM. That's how he hired me. So I guess he would be the most famous. Kirk and I have DM'd.
Hey, I'm assuming this question was directed at you, Mike. But if it was for me, I'd say when I messaged you long ago about receiving stickers, that was a pretty big deal for me to hear.
Okay, so I'm the most famous thing, but so we're really diminishing returns. Here
I love
this
guy.
What else, Justin? Anything else?
You know, you could buy Mike lunch, right? He'll talk to you for half an hour.
The Dr. Drew thing. That was fucking. That was so bizarre. I just
Oh, Mike, great find.
Couple questions from who, Justin?
Will, the other intern.
Oh, Will, go ahead.
He wants to know what are the download numbers, daily and weekly.
I find it funny that Will, of all people, would ask as if we give download numbers. What a fucking what a moron! Justin, Justin has never been more secure in his job than right now. I can't believe Will would ask me to publicly give the download numbers.
Typical.
As if I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah, Ivy League guy.
I don't know if Steve and Kirk want to give them out, they can give them out. But it's not for me to decide. You fucking idiot, Will.
No,
I don't know though. Who was the dipshit that couldn't figure out not to post a video until they talked to you? Which one was that?
Oh, that'd be Justin sitting right across.
All right, well there you go.
Well, here's the thing, Matt. They're both morons. It's the battle on day, like what day of the week it is to decide who's the bigger moron.
Yeah, where'd you get these interns? Mass Bay Community College?
What was Will asking then?
I asked him. I said because he said ask Mike about download numbers, and I said what about download numbers? And he says daily, weekly. Does that sound like he wants to know the download numbers?
Of course, it sounds like he wants to. What the fuck? The download numbers are very good. I'm not going to give them to you, fucking moron.
No, Mike, this is the platform to release that information.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure Kirk wants that. No, the download numbers I put it this way. I've been very impressed, and I'm a person that listens to a lot of podcasts. I've been very impressed. I'm not stupid enough to give them to you.
Everyone knows very impressed means 500,000 plus.
Well, maybe. I'm just saying.
What about would you be interested in a travel show where you travel around?
A travel show.
Who also wants to know?
I mean, yes, but so it would have to be filmed on the weekends, which might be tough. But yeah, I would do a travel show where I travel around. But I mean, obviously, I do the show 5 days a week, so it might be tough.
So, can I ask a question there?
Yeah.
Are you talking like travel to Miami? Are you talking like travel to Saugus and freaking?
Oh, if we're talking traveling with me when I have to go, then yeah, I'm down for that. Well, here's the thing. This is what I've talked to Justin about after the show. If we can find a way for Justin to come to Miami, that'd be an interesting thing. Me going down to Miami.
Well, Patrick, get another GoFundMe going.
I think if there was room in the budget to get someone in that like $15 to $30 hostel on Miami Beach that Steve suggested, I think that could create some very good content.
I like it.
Not to sewer either of the interns here.
We'll see what we can figure out. Anything else, Justin?
Last question. Are you
concerned
for your future children being blind?
Am I? Oh, I've talked about this before. Am I concerned for my future children being on?
That's not how macular degeneration works.
No,
That's
it is.
not how it works.
I'll tell you, Matt.
It's a good question.
I worked for a retina practice for 3 years. It's not genetic like that.
It is.
I don't even know.
No, it is.
Wait, are you saying, Matt? Are you saying Mike's not blind?
No. Macular degeneration, but that's the other thing. It's age related. I have no idea how you have it now. That makes no sense to me.
So here's the thing: is I'm not 100% sure I have macular degeneration.
Have you seen a retina doctor?
When I was a kid, I was diagnosed with macular degeneration.
Yeah.
And as I got older, I went to the eye doctor every year, and they were basically like, "Hey, can you see my fingers?" And I was like, "No," and they were like, "Oh, you're blind." So I got to an age where I was like, "Why am I going to the eye doctor every year?" And I just stopped going. And then my eyes started getting worse. And it was actually when I was an intern for Barstool around that time. And I went to another eye doctor, my friend's dad, who told me, yeah, right. But so what he told me is, my grandfather's also got macular degeneration, which is maybe where the first diagnosis came from. But when I went to my friend's father years later, they said, based on your symptoms, I think you've got retinal pigmentosis, not macular degeneration. I don't know where the macular degeneration diagnosis came from, but we think you've got retinal pigmentosis. So I said, what's worse can either be cured. And they said, macular degeneration kind of stalls at a certain point. Like it kind of stops getting worse. Retinal pigmentosis may go till you're fully blind. It may not. We don't know. But the thing is, we don't know which one you have. If you go and get checked out, we'll know for sure. And I said, are either curable? And they said no.
Okay, so
I said why? So I said why bother? Like if neither are curable, I don't give a fuck which one I have. I'm not going to go get checked out.
So,
at that point.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So so first of all, you're losing your forward vision, right? You've got your periphery, but you don't have your front.
No, so when I was young, my peripheral vision was good, and that's why they thought I had.
That's what I'm saying. You have peripheral.
Now my peripheral vision is shit.
Okay.
Which is why they think I have retinal pigmentosis.
Macular degeneration that's not how it works. It's you lose your front part here. You get a blind spot. Why they think I have retinal pigmentosis. Yeah. You need to go to a retina doctor, dude, because I mean, well, if it is macular degeneration, there is treatment for it, depending on if it's wet or dry. But you need to see
mine was whatever one they didn't have surgery for. Mine
sound
was,
drop, please.
Yeah.
Well, there's no.
Oh, Michael.
Oh, geez. I mean, I don't know if this is.
Mine was very moist.
But dry turns to wet over time, and then it's treatable. That's the thing. So you need to see a retina doctor to figure out what the fuck it is. Because there's treatment.
Are we saying on Mike and the Minifans at 9:17 p.m. on 1/10/2020, Mike may not be blind?
No, he's blind right now, but there might be treatment. There might be treatment. And so anyway. I can't imagine. So I'll be the only adult in your life that's told you that you need to go to a fucking retina doctor and figure this out, dude. I'll give you the tough love if no one else. If your mom doesn't give a shit about you enough, Mima doesn't give a shit about you enough, your coworkers don't. I'm here to tell you, go see a fucking retina doctor and get it diagnosed. Because if it is MACD, there's treatment. And if you can regain some of your central vision again, it's going to change your life for the better. Stop dicking around, dude.
All right. I'll do that. But so the question is
retina. Yeah, it has to be. Don't go to an ophthalmologist. Don't go to a fucking.
These last 2 minutes have been the
Go to
best.
a retina doctor. Well, this is why I brought Mike here tonight, is so we could have this fucking intervention.
This intervention. So the question is, would I have kids?
Thank you for
and my answer is, that's the thing. Actually, me and my girlfriend, who's in the other room. Let's keep it down, gentlemen. Me and my girlfriend have talked about this stuff. I'm very afraid of having kids because of that reason. Would I do it? Maybe. But like I want to have kids, but the thing is, I don't want to pass that gene along.
You're all right.
It's not. You need to go see a retina doctor, dude.
All right, I'm in. Matt has convinced me.
Mike, just do it, man. Have kids. Have them.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if I can see, it'll ruin my entire career.
All right, can I ask you a quick question? Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
What if Mama Gary said, "I don't know if I want to have kids"? We wouldn't have you, right?
Wouldn't that be a great thing, though? Like, wouldn't
No, what if she said, I know
a
what will
depressed
happen.
blind man wouldn't be born to the Timmy, you're not making a great argument.
This guy will be cursed to doing podcasts in Watertown on a Friday night.
Justin wouldn't have to be here. He could be living his life, for Christ's sake.
Right?
You know?
If that was the case, we'd be
Just
talking
do it. Stop
MHB
being
right
a bourgeois. Just
Dude,
do it.
it's content. You can film yourself going to the retina physician. If there's treatment, dude, the treatment for macular degeneration is fucking needle in the eye. It's a fucking needle in the eye. Film that shit.
I was talking about him having sex with Albert and then putting it on YouTube.
She might be in.
Don't do that.
Go make those babies,
boys.
brother.
Well, guys, I think this has been.
Thanks, Mike.
Minute to minute, I think this has been the best episode. So thank you guys very much
Mike,
for coming on.
One last thing.
Yeah.
Because I love to talk.
Please.
How ironic is it that Steve loves space movies, Armageddon, Independence Day, and Jerry hates movies about space?
I'll tell you why, Tim. It's because Jerry's from this planet and Steve is not.
Excellent point.
All right, boys. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, Mike.
I appreciate it. You all be back.
Thanks, Mike.
Love you guys. Mike and the Minifans brought to you by the People versus Rich Kelleher and Rosetta's Restaurant. Check both of those out. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for stopping by.
Another tough day at work today. Steve and Kirk think I suck. Throw back a few wobbly pops, feeling down on my luck. And the interns ruin every show. But it's still where we want to go. It's Mike and the Minifans. 'Cause nobody had any better plans. You wanna be with DC and our aim in a hand. The host can't see it's Mike and the Minifans. And nobody's seen real MHB. This whole thing is a sham. You never see him pee, it's Mike and the Minifans.